Welcome to a very special Clipboard and Credentials episode 3, I believe it is. It's either episode 3 or 4. I might have to change it. Tonight, we're going to have a very special guest who I'm going to bring in right now, Mud Rabbit. Mud Rabbit, how are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Special guest, so I'm going to bring in right now. I am good. I appreciate you coming on here today. And before we get into what we're going to talk about tonight, hello, Daniel. Shout out to Boss Man. Shout out to Marshall. How did you get the nickname Mud Rabbit?
Oh, that's an old story. I got online in 1996, and my
Okay.
mother and I joined a chat room on Dalnet. We used to go to Dalnet and Undernet on the Merck platform. And she was Mud Mama and I was Mud Baby. But somebody came in because I do a lot of research and digging and a lot of gardening. Somebody dubbed me Mud Rabbit, and it stuck. So I've had this nickname since 1996. And then 1998, 1999 came along, or back in 98, I think it was, there was a thing called mudding. I think that's where you take ATVs out. So everybody thought I used to do that. But no, it was a joke. It stuck. So I kept it. You're muted. There.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hello? All right, sorry
Yes.
about that. I don't know
No
why my
problem.
voice got just closed like that.
Stand by. Just say stand by. We're experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties. Now, thank you, Yen Yurin, and thank you, Kaz. Thank you, everybody from LV's channel coming over. The reason why we've brought Mud Rabbit in today is she has some interesting. Do you prefer to call it the mob or the mafia?
Mafia.
Mafia.
Yeah.
Now, are these stories you've told before?
I told Jacob about it and Michael about it about 3 years ago.
Do you ever get nervous telling these stories?
No.
Oh, okay. Do you think
This is not the old man Castellano. These are his sons and his grandsons.
What?
The
Say
old
that
man.
again?
This is not Paul Senior. Paul Castellano Sr. He was shot by Gotti in New York. These are
Right.
his sons and his grandsons that I worked for. First I worked for the Galganos. And what happened was the Castellanos came into the corporation. I'm not sure, but I think the Galganos owed them some money. And we did a corporate split. And they started fighting over the management team. And my husband and I went over to the Castellano side. I think it was a chapter 13. I could be wrong on that. But it was a corporate split. And the Galvanos took some of the restaurants and the Castellanos took the other half of the restaurants and half the managers. And my husband and I went to work for them.
Okay. Now, when you say you were working for the grandkids, was he still around when you took your first job?
Oh, no. He'd already been dead.
Interesting. So prior to now, before his death, before you get into your story, before his death, were you doing any jobs for people then?
No. The reason he was killed was I think it was Gotti wanted to bring in the drug trade. They already had the prostitution, the hotels, the restaurants, all of that, but Gotti wanted the drug trade and Castellano wanted to stay out of it.
Right.
So there was a disagreement there, and those disagreements usually end up with someone dead.
Did they make a movie out of one of those?
The movie I'm familiar with is Casino, because that's the one that's got all the true stories in it.
Interesting.
If you watch Casino, And this is part of my story. And the character is Pete Sabatino. And if you ever watch Casino, there's a scene in there where they take Joe Pesci and his brother out to the cornfield. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes, I've seen that.
Okay.
I've seen that part a bunch of times at least. Yeah.
Okay. That scene is a true story, and Pete Sabatino was there.
Okay.
And that's what he bragged on. When the Castellanos took over, they've got their Shylocks that are aging out, and they need a job. They need something legit. So what they do is they
Yeah,
put.
take me through your first job. What made you? What was the job, and how did you know that these people were mobs because of their? Was it because of their name, or I'll let you.
Well, yeah. Well, it was Galgano, of course. You hear the
Okay.
name Galgano, and you begin to wonder. I mean, I pay attention to these things because I like the mob movies. I like the history. It just interests me. And when I went to work for them, my husband used to work for New England Oyster House, and we had moved to the Virgin Islands, and we're down there for about 5 years. And
Is this the first job you're going over? The first time you decided to start working?
Yeah.
For them?
When we came back from the islands, there was director of operations that was for New England Oyster House, had been working for Bobby Rubino's. And he knew me and my husband, and he brought us, we needed jobs, so he gave us jobs. So he went to one store, he was the general manager, and I was the night manager in another one.
Okay.
And we worked for the Galganos at the time. So I think the Galganos were loosely connected to them. I don't know too much history on them. I do know that one of the brothers, and he's one I will not name, he's dead now, but you had the good brother and you had the bad brother. And the good brother was the one that I liked, and the bad brother was the one that always tried to bring drugs into the mix and slept with all the waitresses and, stuff like that.
So what was the job exactly, the first one?
Oh, I was manager. I ran one of their stores at night, one of their restaurants.
How was
And,
the interview process? Do you meet with one of the family guys?
no, I met with Jerry Moniz. He was the go-between, and he would go to them and tell them, whether they should hire this person or not. But because Jerry knew us from years before, he put in good words for us, and they hired us right away. I didn't even have to go for a polygraph. I didn't have to go for a drug test, nothing. Just show up.
And so was there any kind of like, so when you get in the interview, it's just you, or is it you and your husband?
No, it's just me and Jerry Moniz.
Okay. Now, did they make you like give you a handbook or something? Say, look, these are some other rules we have.
Yes, absolutely. They give you a handbook and they
Take me
expect
through
you.
that.
Huh?
I said, take me through that.
Well, we had a dress code. And the first uniform the girls had, do you remember Chris Everett, the tennis player?
No, I do not.
She used to wear these little ruffled panties and these short skirts so that when she was playing tennis, her butt would stick out with these ruffles. We had uniforms like that. And the girls wore these uniforms with the little ruffled panties and the little sandals and stockings, the whole bit, and the front laced up like a corset. And that's what they wore. And then as times changed, when we got into the mid 80s, they changed it to khakis and a polo shirt.
And this was the guys you worked for?
Yeah.
Interesting.
The
Now,
girls, that was the waitresses, the wait staff. That was
so
their
the handbook was mainly clothing. It wasn't like,
well,
you can't talk
we
about
had
who you work with.
we had a very strict policy. Basically, it was the same policy that stewardesses have: one ring, one necklace, one bracelet, one pair of earrings, and they can't be bigger than a nickel. And you can't have your nails had to be not too long, and they had to be painted a neutral color. If they were painted bright red, I'd hand the girls a bottle of acetone and tell them clean your nails. So they were really strict about that. They wanted uniformity. They wanted all the girls not to overdress. which I agree with. If I had a restaurant, and I did have my own restaurant, if I had a dress code, I would have followed the same thing, because a waitress does not want to wait on a table with a bunch of jewelry on, because they're not going
Now
to make.
you say waitress. I thought it was a store. You said.
Well, we call them stores. They're units.
Gotcha. Okay.
My husband was at the one in Pompano. That was the link I dropped.
So
here.
he got the job right around the same time you did?
Yes. Well, no.
Did they separate you, or you guys were going to be together?
Oh, no. We're separate. He came back from the island 6 months before I did. And then they put me.
Were you guys nervous?
I'm sorry?
Were you guys nervous working for?
No, because they own everything down here. When I wasn't working for them anymore, I went to work for the Jewish mob down in Miami.
Interesting.
I mean, they all own everything. You've got the Varsalones have the insurance, the Miniachis worked in the auto industry, the Galganos and the Castellanos were in the restaurant business. And let's see, who else was it? Oh, Miniachi. Miniachi had the vending. So everywhere you went in Dade and Broward County, it was either the Castellanos group or the Kupferman group down in Miami.
Now, that first job you had where you said you were the, you called it a store or whatever, the
manager.
Restaurant. Yeah.
It was the manager of a restaurant.
Did you ever get in any trouble at this restaurant or have any problems when you were working there?
I've had problems with other people. I never got into trouble because of the rule book. I followed that rule book. Every time I hired somebody, I gave them that rule book. I made them sign the back of it that they read it. And I went down a 20-point.
Oh, they put you right in positioning of hiring right away.
Yeah. Well, management back then is not like management nowadays. Managers nowadays aren't real managers. Back then,
they're glorified babysitters.
Exactly. And back then, you had to be able to make a decision without having to call them at 1 o'clock in the morning. If you were calling them at 1 o'clock in the morning to ask them questions and waking them up, they got rid of you. You make a decision. This is what they told me. You make a decision. You go with it. You do what you think is best. And then if there's anything we need to discuss, we'll do that later.
Right.
So
when you said you didn't get in any trouble at that job, or you did?
Myself, never.
Oh,
never.
Okay, interesting.
No, when you work for these people, you do exactly what they tell you. It's not your business, it's theirs.
Did you see any crazy punishments for people that broke rules while you were there?
I meted out some punishments.
Oh, okay.
It was like firing, writing up, suspending, things like that.
Oh, nothing like movie style. Like
no. That
shake somebody up or something.
No, when they had to take care of something, they took care of it someplace else. But they weren't. They were already getting out of that because, let's face it, the mafia doesn't have the teeth it used to. Not in those areas. They might have it.
This was in what years, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I don't mind at all. Let me think. 1986, I worked for them for 11 years.
Okay, so the first job you got, it lasted 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And would you say so and you didn't move up at all? You just kind of stayed where you were at?
I had the opportunity to move up a couple of times, but I turned it down for two different reasons. If it had come at me to be a general manager at any time, other than those two instances and those two people wanting to promote me, I might have accepted it. But under the circumstances, one of them, I was working in Boca Raton. And Boca Raton is a very difficult location to work in. I was living in Hollywood, so I'm driving 36 miles to work at 7 a.m.
Hollywood, California?
Hollywood, Florida. And driving.
Florida. Okay.
Yeah. It's the next town south of Fort Lauderdale. And West Palm Beach is where Mar-a-Lago is. So I was driving 36 miles every morning when I worked in Boca, I was on daytime. So I was driving 36 miles at 7 o'clock in the morning on the turnpike just to get to work. And that was a 45-minute drive. But I had gotten transferred there from Margate. And Margate was only a 20-minute drive from my house. But working in Boca was when I got the offer for promotion. And the supervisor was a crook. So, and I didn't want to work under somebody like that because people like him blame other people. And the manager.
What ended up happening to that supervisor? Any interesting stories with him?
His wife got accused of sexually assaulting a child. And I don't know what the outcome of that was. She was a preschool teacher. I think this was just a Karen as a parent trying to stir up trouble. But it broke him up bad enough that he left the job. He broke down in my office one day crying on my shoulder. And I kept asking, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And he told me. And then he says, I never told you that. But I felt bad for him because his wife was a nice lady. I think there was something else going on, which is why he actually broke down crying. I don't know what it was, but later on, my husband, he's my ex-husband now. We talk about it often, and we both know he's a. So I have a feeling they caught it and threatened him.
Caught him stealing?
Yeah, you didn't steal from these people. And the other problem with that location was the manager the general manager that was there before me. He'd leave the safe open. The only person should be going in that safe are the managers. But he would leave the safe unlocked, and busboys and waitresses would go in and out of the office. The office was left unlocked, and they would put change in and out, make their own change. And I was sitting in the office. I'd been there like a week. And one of the busboys came in and opened up the safe and reached in for the cash box. I said, what the hell are you doing? He goes, oh, he lets me make change. I said, uh-uh. I said, uh-uh. Made him put it back and change the rules.
The family you worked for, do you think they were ever like making mistakes? Was there ever like talk when you were working at these restaurants like, man, the family's screwing up, they're fighting with so-and-so, or was all that stuff hidden from you? Any crazy stories on that end of stuff you saw while there?
No, the only thing that concerns anything like that would be Pete and his son, Jimmy.
Okay.
Now, Pete was the Shylock that needed a legit job. So what they did was they stuck him in the Pompano location where my husband worked.
What's a Shylock for the audience?
Shylock? Okay, you know the loan sharks?
Yeah.
The ones that come and break your legs when you
I have an idea. I just want the people to know.
Yeah, these are the guys that come and break your legs if you don't pay your debt.
Right. Okay. That was exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, they're the enforcers. And Pete needed a legit job. So they stuck him in, Pete's passed on now. They stuck him in.
This is your ex-husband?
No, Pete's the guy. They stuck him in my husband's location as a manager.
Okay.
Just to give him a legit job. My husband was the general manager. And all he did was sit on the bar and tell his mob stories. And that's how we found out about the movie Casino. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy who gave all this information so that movie could be written. All you have to do is look up Casino on IMDb and they'll have all the history there. But it was one of the Jewish guys. Oh, there was a movie about him and Robert De Niro played him.
Did the Jewish mob get along with the regular mob?
At the time, back in the day, they did. I don't think they crossed paths down here because when I went to work down in Miami, when I didn't work for Bobby Rubino's anymore, there was a very strange situation that happened.
What happened?
I was in accounts receivable, and he had a friend come in. My boss down there had a friend come in who wanted me to type something up for him. And he was standing behind me dictating to me while I was typing. And what it was very strange. He was trying to get his vending machines into Cuba. My boss at the time. Now,
when you say vending machines, you talking about like bubble gum?
Yeah, cigarettes, candy, just jukeboxes, whatever. So he wanted to get them into Cuba, and he wanted me to write this letter for him. And I'm typing this letter for him, and stupidly, just innocently, I burst out and I went, "Oh, do you know Dominic Miniacci?" And I turned around and looked at him for the answer, because Miniacci runs the vending machines down here. And his eyes got so big, and he bent over me and ripped that letter out of the typewriter and ran out of the office.
I would have loved to have done vending machines.
Well, we had all our vending machines in the restaurants. We had the jukeboxes, we had the candy machines, we had the cigarette machines, and they were all put in by Miniacci. And his sister worked for the company too.
Now, did something bad happen to the Shylock guy that was the manager, the enforcer?
No, they gave him this legit job, and all he would do was sit on the bar, smoke his cigar, and talk about, what he did in the mob. And like I said, watch that movie. All those stories that are in that movie, he's pointing out who was who in each of those characters, and the girls would just hang around and listen to him. I was in another unit, so I'd have to wait till my husband came home to tell me what he had heard, and that's how we found out about the cornfield thing. Now,
I wonder why he didn't catch no shit for telling all those stories then.
You're not going to catch shit for telling stories like that. I mean, first of all, the waitresses aren't going to say anything. And second of all, what are the cops going to do? The guy's old. He's not doing it anymore. And he could just say he's bullshitting. But he's not bragging outside to people that care.
I'm talking about the people he worked with. I'm surprised that didn't get him up shit creek with them.
Oh, they didn't care. They really don't care. These people don't care. It's like they don't care what you think. You're little people, as far as they're concerned. You don't bother them. You don't concern them. All they want is somebody honest to hold their money. And I was there in the unit doing that job, making sure all the receipts were in, making sure the paperwork was 100%, making sure the employees did everything they wanted, and making sure that money got in the safe every night. As long as you did that, they pretty much left you alone. Now, if you did something wrong, and there were some other managers that did something wrong, they would go in themselves. They would show up in the middle of a shift and tell the guy out.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure that never happened to me, but I follow the rule book. I mean, it's like I said, it was easy for me because that's what I do. I grew up in restaurants.
Why did you end up leaving the first job?
There was a bunch of back and forth. The first time I left, we had an emergency. I was in the Hallandale unit, and there was an emergency where a man choked and then was having a heart attack because he choked. And we were 6 deep at the bar. We had a 45-minute wait for parties.
And when you say 6 deep, 6 people, right?
I'm sorry?
When you say 6 deep, you mean 6 people?
Yeah, it just means your bar is swamped. You've got people standing behind the people that are sitting, 6 rows of people. Our restaurants, the smallest restaurant would serve 250 people, and then up and up and up and up. One night, this guy had a medical emergency, and it was in the middle of tourist season, and I tried to call 911 for the paramedics. And we had these really rude customers that would not let the paramedics get in. So they called the police.
Surprised the mob didn't have their own doctors on staff.
Well, what happened was when they found out what happened, all hell broke loose.
Define all hell breaking loose.
Well, first they thought it was me. And then when I explained to them what had happened, that we're in the middle of tourist season and all the Canadians are down at this time and they're rude, they want to be sat right now and you don't have a table for them and we don't take reservations.
How did they summon you when they thought it was you? Was it like
he just came in. He came into the store. He came into the store and pulled me off the floor.
Did he whistle? Was he like...
No, he went into the office and had the general manager come tell me to meet him in the office. So I went in, I sat down, and I explained to him what happened, and I got up and left. When he heard
were you shaking on your way to the office?
No, because I told him the truth. I wasn't
That
afraid of
always
these
wins.
people. I wasn't afraid of these people. If you're honest with them and you tell them the truth, you got nothing to worry about. Make sure their money is cool. Make sure it's in the safe at the end of the night, and just be honest.
What the
And when,
office look like? A couple chairs and a desk.
yeah, on either side.
I'm guessing one telephone.
Yep. Yep. So he called me in the office and he says, okay, tell me what happened. So I told him what happened. And he asked me if I thought anything better could be done to ameliorate the situation. I said, no, I don't, because we had too many people waiting for tables that were not opening up. And they were the ones that were keeping the paramedics from getting to this man. And I left the office and that was it. But if anything like that happens, they want to hear it from you. They don't want to hear it from other people. They don't want to hear it secondhand. They want to hear it from you. And since I was the manager on duty that night, but what happened was the general manager that I worked for, although he's still a friend of mine, he's weak. And
weak like he can't lift dinner trays. He's weak like he can't tell his wife the truth.
No, weak. Herman Milk Toast. Do you know what that is?
No.
Herman Milk Toast is like a wimpy guy that can get pushed around really easy.
Interesting.
And that's how he was. And when I was asking for certain measures to be done, it was just complicating things. And there was something else going on at the same time, too. We had the guy that owns the Boca Resort, his son was there working with me as another night manager. And he was a real asshole.
Did the Boca Resort have dancers?
I don't know. I've never been there. I think it's a hotel and country club.
And wait, and I think I might have missed it, or you said it, but what was the reason for the separation of your first leaving that first job or whatever at the restaurant?
That night, I was a nervous wreck and I was upset, not because of them, but because of what had happened and this man. And I couldn't get help. I couldn't get cooperation. I couldn't get anybody to stand back. And because the general manager was a weak person, he wouldn't implement the Band-Aids. He wouldn't implement the fix.
So you got to put it 2 weeks in, or you just say, I'm out?
No, I just said I'm out and went home. They called me back 2 months later when they had Boca. They had opened Boca when I was working in Margate. And the manager up there was, like I told you, the guy that used to leave the safe open all the time. So they got rid of him.
Safe's open.
Yeah. So they got rid of him and they put Frank Cristiano in there. Oh, there's another story there.
Please do.
Yeah, they put him in there, and then they called me and said, please come back to work. We want to put you in Boca. So I did.
Welcome to Boca.
Yeah, and that was the one that was 36 miles from home. Now, Frank, he did so much coke back in the day that his nose was destroyed. He'd walk around the restaurant holding his face all day, moaning that his nose hurt. So he and I used to go head to head because he would sit in the booth all day and
with cocaine.
No, just sitting there holding his face.
Oh, Jesus.
Drinking coffee, entertaining people.
Right,
huh?
No, I was saying, you're all right, boss, when I was imitating.
Yeah. I just bring him coffee and tell him stay there because my job was easier if he stayed out of my way. And then he'd do things like a really pretty waitress would go cry to him that she's not making enough money. So what he would do is, this is illegal, he would write in like 10 extra hours on her time card. But because I handled the time cards, the office would come back at me. And finally, one day, the supervisor came down and he was so pissed at me. And he came in, he dragged me in the office, said, I want you to explain this. I said, go talk to Frank. He goes, what do you mean go talk to Frank?
You said that? Go talk to Frank?
Go talk to Frank. I didn't do it.
What do you say? How dare you?
I don't give a shit.
How dare you?
No, I told him, I said, go talk to Frank. He goes, why should I talk to Frank? I said, because that's his signature on the time card. It's not mine. Oh, okay. End of subject.
Ricky, send Frank in.
Yeah. So they went and they talked to him. Didn't stop him from doing it, but at least they didn't bother me about it anymore.
Somebody's got a quick question before you go on with your stories. Mud Rabbit, do you remember the Gelante murder in Brooklyn?
Galante murder in Brooklyn. That sounds
Knickerbocker
familiar.
Avenue?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I remember that one. No, I want to say it looks familiar, but I really don't know. I mean, we're going back to the 80s with these guys. I worked for them from the mid 80s to the mid 90s.
And you only had 2 jobs?
I worked for them all those time. I was only out for the 2 months before they called me and asked me to please
No,
come
you did
back.
11 years, and then when you left after the 11 years, did you go get another job with them?
Yeah, that's when I went down to Miami and worked for the government. And that's where the thing with Miniachi happened, because the guy was having me type up. That's the Jewish
You said Miniachi?
Miniachi is the one that had the vending. And this,
okay,
this
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, these guys down in Miami were the Jewish mafia, and they had the auto rental down there. And I worked at an auto rental company, and he wanted a typist. He wanted somebody. He was a friend of the boss's, and he wanted me to type up this letter for him. And me
How
just
fast
being,
can you type, lady? Was it like that?
no, I type 180 words a minute.
I know, but was that how the interview went? Were they like,
No, that wasn't.
Rabbit?
No, what had happened was one of my girlfriends, her brother got me the job. He worked there, and they were looking for somebody for accounts receivable. And he went to the big boss and he says, I know somebody. And I went, he came back, told my friend told me, and I drove down there. And I think the interview took 5 minutes.
Damn, that was a quick one. No handbook on this one, huh?
No, I was in
Just
accounts
make sure you can type.
No, I was in accounts receivable. All I did was type up invoices. But he came.
It sounds like you were kind of held on the outskirts. Where's the crazy? Any crazy stories?
Yeah, that was that first link I dropped. Pete Sabatino, his son, Jimmy Sabatino, and anybody can look this guy up on Google and they'll get a whole handful of stuff going on. If you remember, I think it was the late 90s. My husband came home one night with this letter. And I'm like,
I found a letter.
Yeah, he found it in the garbage.
I was digging in the trash and there was a letter.
Yeah, well, he went to empty the garbage. He went to empty the garbage and there was a receipt in the garbage he needed to retrieve. And when he was digging through it, he saw this letter and he saw the writing.
God damn, I'm going to return that hot dog.
Yeah, it wasn't crumpled up. And he brought it home and we sat down and we read it. And then I told Jim, we better shred this letter or we're going to get in trouble. The letter was from Jimmy Sabatino. And let me drop that link again because we've had a bunch of people come through. Where'd it go? Here it is. Notorious con man, Jimmy Sabatino.
So, wait a minute. Let me make sure I got this right. So your husband just had he wanted to dig in the trash for some receipt for something he bought or something.
Right, before he emptied the office garbage, which is nothing.
This is okay. This is at his work. Okay, this
right. And
I'm thinking this guy's walking home and he's like, you know what? I'm going to search that can tonight.
No. He was digging for a receipt before there was a receipt that he needed, and he looked all over the desk. He looked all over the office.
Now that makes sense. Okay.
Right. And as he's going through the paper trash, he finds this letter and he's looking at it going, holy shit. He brings it home and it was like 4 pages on yellow legal paper. Now, let me take you back. If anybody remembers, in the late 90s, there was an incident in Great Britain with Sony. The guy had claimed to be a big executive with Sony, and he rented this penthouse.
Sony or Sony? You talking about Sony in Japan?
No, Sony, Sony.
Okay.
You know, the music company.
Yeah, it's Japan, I thought. I guess
Yeah.
it was wrong. Sony
So
in Japan? Yeah, that's Sony. Okay.
he told them that he was this big exec with Sony, and he rented the penthouse, and he had all these expensive meals brought up. I mean, he ran up a tab. And when the British police
Keep them coming.
When the British police found out that he was a con man, they arrested him and they put him in prison over in Great Britain. So he was writing these letters home to his dad, and this was the letter that my husband found. And in the letter, he was threatening Margaret Thatcher and Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was president at the time. And he was threatening both of them. And he caught shit for that when he got back to the States.
Now, was the letter supposed to make it to Bill Clinton?
No, the letter was just to his dad, and his dad was supposed to read it and throw it away.
Wow.
You know how you talk with your family. You say more things to your family that you say to anybody else. And here,
it's weird that you would write such a thing like, "Dear Dad, I'm going after Bill. Love all."
Oh, no, he was mad. He was mad. He was threatening to kill them both. So he got in a lot of trouble for that. He eventually ended up in solitary confinement here in the States in a maximum security prison. But we had this letter, and we're sitting there reading this letter in the office. All the lights in the house are off.
Did you guys frame the letter? Or
no. I wish I kept that letter. But my husband
had a little mustard on it.
Yeah. Put it away for safekeeping. But no, my husband said no. It's probably dangerous to have this letter. So we tore it up and threw it away. But it blew
on second thought. What was I going to say?
Another interesting point that I always found very fascinating for anybody out there that has watched The Sopranos. The main character that James Gandolfini plays, he's a dead ringer for Paul Jr. And the little squirrely guy is a dead ringer for Joey. I mean, you look at the characters in that show, and they all resemble the people I worked for, which is really freaky.
Were the grandsons that you worked for?
The sons.
Whatever happened with them? How long did they last?
No, it's the sons I worked for, and the grandsons.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
And the grandsons were just coming in.
Were they still around, or were they
still around? They're still around. I don't know what they're doing now. I think they had franchised Big Louie's, and they put more effort and money into Big Louie's than they did Bobby Rubino's, and Bobby Rubino's kind of got closed, and the last one standing was up in Pompano.
So some of these restaurants still exist to this day under their management?
I don't know. I'll have to look up Big Louie's and see if they're still around. I've been back here 7 years, and I haven't really looked into it. But I'm sure they've got some businesses going somewhere. I know they still live down here because I got a part-time job in the mall in 2010. When I was down here between trips to North Carolina, I was here for a while, so I got a part-time job. And one of their wives came in. So I know they're still down here.
How nice was this lady?
She was nice. She recognized me. It was good seeing her. But since she and I never really had any connection, I only knew that she was Paul's wife. And she and I recognized each other, said our hellos, and then I helped her. I was working in a boutique, so I helped her find the clothes she wanted, cashed her out, and sent her on her way. I have this weird habit of I keep running into people I knew in the past, which is another reason I kept the nickname Mud Rabbit, because I still run into people that I knew in 1997 under this nick. But what was it? We had some neighbors down in the Virgin Islands that walked into the boutique one day, and we just looked at each other and started laughing. I mean, it just happens to me all the time. But
what happened to the restaurants they owned?
oh, they used to have a lot. They had, at that time, they had 9 of them here in Broward County.
And that was the Castellano family, right?
Yeah, they had 9, and well, Galganos had them, and then the Castellanos came in. But there were 9 of them in Broward County. There was 1 in San Francisco, 1 in Saskatchewan, 1 down in Miami. Bobby Rubino's came out of Tony Roma's. Tony Roma had started down in Miami.
I know what Tony Roma's is.
Okay, Tony Roma and Bobby Rubino were partners. And when Bobby Rubino left Tony Roma, he opened his own restaurants, Bobby Rubino's. And then he sold the rights and the restaurants to the Galganos. But they kept the name because they kept the right to his name. He used to come into the Margate store.
Why, was there a shift in power?
No, I think he was just retiring and needed to sell the business. But when I think about it, I think, that might be valid for 1 or 2 restaurants, not 14 of them, So maybe there was something there. He never had the right to use his own name in a business again. They had the sole right. Bobby Rubino, he never could use his name in a business again.
You're not using your name anymore, Rubino.
Yeah, they bought the rights to his name. So, and that was his own name. So if he were to open another restaurant, he'd have to call it something else. And they make you sign a 2-year non-disclosure after you leave. You can't tell them the recipes or what sauces they used or anything like that.
Now, when you say they couldn't give that out, was that like somebody in charge came to you and said, listen, you give out a recipe, this is what will happen?
They'll take you to court.
Oh, okay.
They'll take you to court. Yeah, the sons are trying. The father wanted to get his sons out of the business because of what was happening in New York. He didn't want his sons and his grandsons to have to go through whatever it was he did. He wanted them out because he didn't want them in the drug trade.
Do you think JFK was killed by the mob?
No.
Interesting.
If you look at that video and you blow it up, it was the driver. Okay. It was the driver.
I've heard people say that before. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've seen the video.
Where I'm lost on that, and I got to ask you this. So I've heard people say, oh, yeah, they think it was the driver. So was the wife just oblivious then?
Well, the people, no, she wasn't in on it. The people, you can obviously tell from the video, she was not in on it. She was in shock. And then when they swore in, now remember, I was alive to watch this on TV at the time. When they swore in LBJ, she was standing there with the blood on her dress. I saw the video where he got shot. I was 6 years old and I was watching TV with my great grandmother, and I didn't fully understand what had happened. But I did see the video when it was broadcast on CBS. And the next thing they had Walter Cronkite, and he broke down in tears. I remember seeing that. And I remember watching LBJ being sworn in, or seeing the pictures. Yeah, I saw the pictures of LBJ.
Did he have Secret Service then?
Yeah, it was the CIA that killed him.
Was the driver supposed to be a Secret Service agent?
No, the driver was CIA.
Wow.
I think the driver was CIA. I shouldn't make that comment. I think the driver was CIA, but the CIA had him done in.
Now, is this the more of the out of all the predictions of how JFK died? Is this the one you think gets the most picked? The most people believe this happened?
The group of people that I dig information with, that's the information we've come up with. I think it was I think they let everybody think it was the mob or think it was Oswald. In the beginning, it was Oswald. And I remember seeing the pictures when Ruby shot him. Oswald was a patsy. The gun he had didn't even work properly. And there's no way he could have made a shot to the front of this guy's head from behind him in a depository. No way.
So if the driver did it, the people that would have stopped him or would have locked him up, those were the highest like people that were in charge. Is that why he never got pinpointed or anything?
Yeah. Well, it's the Secret Service or the CIA. CIA doesn't ever. They're not accountable. Neither is the FBI. This is the problem we're having politically right now. Is they're corrupt, and they have been corrupt. Now, who engineered this? Who was behind it? We think it was George Bush, because he was the head of the CIA at the time.
Wow. So George Bush, before he became president, he was head of the CIA.
Yeah, the senior, not George W.
Yeah,
George
yeah, of course.
H.W.
I wonder how you get a job like that.
I don't. You have to know people, and you have to belong in the club. Otherwise,
she said you got to know people. Hey, you're damn right. You got to know some heat people to get that position.
Exactly.
Because it sounds like it's like the position of God. If they could just do whatever and get away with it,
and they have for many, many years.
So CIA is like just another version of God almost.
CIA is another mafia. So is the FBI. What? The CIA is its own mafia.
Right. And it's one that's allowed to operate above ground.
The thing with the FBI is supposed to work within the United States, and the CIA is supposed to work outside the United States. Lately, they've switched positions. The CIA has meddled in country, and the FBI has meddled out of country.
I wonder what the wife eventually thought.
Jackie?
Yeah. The one that was in the car. She said, Jackie? There was another girl in the car?
No. I'm just making sure we're talking about this. I think she knew. I think the realization hit her that she was next. This is what I think why she married Onassis. He could protect her. He could protect her children.
Who was that? Who's Onassis?
Onassis was a rich Greek billionaire. I'll try and find
it. Billionaire probably helped a little bit.
Yeah. So she married Onassis. And let me see if I can find him here.
Moving on up.
Oh, I lost it. Let's see. Yeah, she married him, and I thought pretty quick. And she lived to a ripe old age, and he protected her.
Man, what an interview that would be.
Yeah, Aristotle Onassis.
It wouldn't even have mattered if she did know. There was nothing she could do. Even if she knew who killed them, there was nobody she could go to. There was no law enforcement she'd go to where she would have got justice.
She had to know who killed him. She was in the car. The shot came from the front. Because you can see in the video, I mean, use your logic. They said for so long that it was, what's his name, in the depository. If you really examine the video, they shot him from the front of his head, and parts of his brain and skull went flying across the back of the car. And she immediately jumped to the back of the trunk to grab those pieces. And you can see it in the video. She's grabbing all the pieces of his head.
Damn.
And when she comes back in, she grabs him and she puts her head down. I mean, if you're the wife of such a person, surely there's pillow talk.
Why'd this guy have to go, in their opinion?
Because he was going to get rid. Let's put it this way. And I don't want to get political because I don't know who's anybody, and I'm not saying who I'm for, but Trump is finishing what Kennedy started.
Okay.
See, Kennedy wanted to get rid of the CIA. He knew what was going on. He wanted to handcuff the FBI. He wanted to clean out the government, and this is why they got rid of him. Trump is finishing what Kennedy started. His best friend was JFK Jr.
Now, JFK Jr., do you think he's alive?
Let's put it this way. I hope he is. I hope the rumors are true.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I don't know
What
for
are
a
the
fact.
rumors exactly? What are the rumors exactly?
The rumors are, since he is who he is, and he was running against Hillary, and everybody Hillary doesn't want ends up dead anyway. It's said that they found the bomb on the wing of his plane, and the bomb was set to go off when he reduced altitude. So the bomb would be fine. He could get up to altitude. He was going to Martha's Vineyard. He could fly. But as soon as he got below a certain altitude, that bomb was programmed to go off. Now, the story now goes that they found the bomb. So what they did was they put a Navy SEAL in the plane to fly it. And he jumped off the plane, and there was a ship out there, a Navy ship out there to pick him up. And the plane was left to go. And when the plane reached down to the altitude the bomb was programmed to go off, it exploded. So that's the story. And the thing is, with the people that I do the research with, we've seen pictures of him older. They're not AI, they're not CGI. And I can't say for sure that it's him, but we have pictures.
Well, Denise said something that his son died mysteriously. Which one was that?
Whose son?
Even Kennedy's son died mysteriously.
JFK Jr.
Is that the plane one? All right.
Yeah, that's the plane.
I'm not familiar on a lot of it. That's why I was asking questions.
Yeah, we do a lot of research.
I'm interested in.
I don't know if he's alive or dead. I really don't. And I don't know if what this theory that's been dug up is true or not. I can only hope that it's true. I don't know if it's true, and I won't believe it until I see him. Pictures can be altered, letters can be altered. So you have to kind of take that all into consideration. It's a nice thing to think, and it sure would be one hell of a surprise if he was.
I wanted to ask what you thought about this. I was once on a show with Jacob, believe it or not, with a nice fellow who he thinks that Donald Trump was still president.
God, that would be a whole other show.
Now, when you hear people say that, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
But my thing is,
COC.
Now, if that is true, let's just say he still is, why would they be making him go through all this law shit?
How do you wake people up?
What do you mean?
If he can get, and it's already been said that he no longer has presidential immunity, if you can strip presidential immunity from someone, then you can prosecute them for the crimes they committed while in office.
Okay.
So if by going through all these lawsuits that can be accomplished, then we can go after past presidents for crimes they committed.
If Biden and them don't like each other, why would Biden let Trump still be president? Or it's just like, or it's a farce. They're in another building.
To wake people up. To wake people up. People only wake up when they are at the precipice of his destruction. I'm sorry to say it, but some people just do not do the research. Some people look at it, you can have the proof handed to them, and they still don't believe it. I have people like that in my own family. So the only way you're going to get people to wake up is to let them feel some pain. And this is what we're going through right now.
So you think Trump and them have this other like kind of version of the White House, and they're in there doing their thing, and then Biden's over here?
No, I think it's Space Force, because he did say he got a hold of Space Force.
Do you think Kamala knows that Trump's still president?
Yeah, I think they all do. I don't, he's not president per se. He's just still in command.
Okay. No, I like it.
That's what
now,
we
when you
think.
say still in command, so what do? They pretend like they're asking Joe. They're like, Joe, you want us to go ahead with Project 137? But they're really asking Trump. They're like, this is Trump.
No. They're letting Joe have his head. They're letting them all have their head right now because that's the only way we, the people, are going to see it. Our problem is that politicians come in and they fix things for us. It's like a parent who does everything for their child. And we become complacent. Yes, BC, Obama in the basement.
Obama's running the White House.
He is. He is. And he said as much. These people, they have, that's another string to go off on. These people have to tell you what they're doing to absolve themselves of any future karma. It's their belief. You don't have to believe it. It's what they believe. So what they do is in underhanded ways, through movies, through books, through stories, through talk shows, they kind of tell you what they're doing in a what if scenario. And Obama did exactly that on Jimmy Kimmel. He said, the interview is out there, if I had another term in the White House, if I could just sit in the background and instruct.
Yeah, Trump did say that. My buddy told me Trump said one of the things, if he was president, he said the war of Ukraine would be over.
Yeah, it would have never started.
No, I mean, I believe you there. I mean, I don't know much about politics, but I like hearing about it. But I don't think, well, do you think if he was able to become president and end that war within the first 30 days, would he be a legend?
I think he already is.
Yeah, but wouldn't he? What would that do to a legend then? If he ends that war, what does that do for him?
Trump didn't have any wars during his presidency. And he said several times that if he had been elected president, if he was in the White House, this would not have happened. He's got a very good rapport with Putin, with Xi, with all of them. And for those people out there who buy the hype that Russia is the enemy, no. World War II, Russia was our ally. Russia has been our ally ever since. It's the deep state that doesn't like it, and it's the deep state that tells us Russia's the bad guy. If it weren't for Russia, we wouldn't have won World War II.
I don't get, but the only thing I'd be confused about, like, he sounds so confident. I wonder what he could do. I mean, considering he's in America, what would he could do to end the war that can't end the war now? I don't understand what little trick he would try.
The thing that we saw when Trump was doing all those tours to different countries, I mean, he's the only American president that stepped over the zone into North Korea. He went and he met with all these leaders. He already explained to them what's going to happen and what he's going to do. And then he stepped out of the picture for 4 years because now we have to convince the American people. And the American people have become so complacent that they're not going to wake up unless they feel a little pain. And we were told that this was going to happen. He told us.
Let me try answering this one, and then you could try to answer it too. It says, the only thing I question is if Trump's still president, why are these immigrants crossing the border? Let me take a stab at this, and I know nothing. I would say that's because if Mud Rabbit said they need a wake-up call, he has to let some shit go wrong because he has to make it look like he's not there.
Mm-hmm. And
so
all
he
this
has to
hype
make
about
the other guy look kind of bad while he's in, his little world, and then he'll be back.
Yeah, when he comes back, he's promised to deport them all. We are already, this is something that a lot of people
might still be president, but he didn't want to do too good under Biden because then they might bring Biden back.
Well, let me explain something. We are already under our birth weight. If we our birth weight, we don't have enough of the next generation to keep things going. There are people out there, a lot of people who just aren't having kids. God, some of the girls I worked with in the boutique, none of them wanted kids. And I'm like, you got to be crazy. I wanted more. But our births are down. And if we're going to grow as a country, we need bodies. Now, of all these people coming in, there's a lot of them that are fighting age men. I'm sure they'll be dealt with. We just have to be careful. But there's women and children in that mix too, who really do want a good life. We're going to have to absorb some of them because our population is declining. And if we don't want to go the way of China, we need to get some more bodies. And we're not having, our birth rate is down. It's way down. So if we want this country to keep going, we're going to need people.
China numbers are up. Always have been.
Yeah. Well, no, China's birth rate is down too. And the problem they're having.
They still got a good number though.
Yeah,
but
the problem they're having in China is because of the one-child policy. When women found out they were having girls, they would abort them. So you have too many men and not enough women.
That's crazy. So they had no choice.
Right. And the problem in China now is that people are getting poorer and poorer by the day. And the young people who are married are deciding not to have children. And now Xi has this campaign going to push people to have babies, but they're not going to do it because they don't have the money. You can't raise kids when you don't have the money.
You can have 2 kids now.
Not in China. Yeah, you can have them, and they're pushing you to have 2 or more.
They can talk.
Their birth rate is in peril. But the young people aren't buying it because half of them are unemployed.
Right. Thank you, Denise. Sorry I got you sidetracked on
that's okay.
Politics, but was there another too. What was the other mob story you had for me? I forgot. I got sidetracked myself.
Oh, that was Jimmy. He was the one who pretended to be the Sony exec.
Okay.
The fact that we had to destroy those letters is because in those letters he was threatening the lives of Margaret Thatcher and Bill Clinton. You can get in trouble knowing shit like that if you don't tell anybody.
So nothing ended up happening with that.
Well, it did. It happened on the Great Britain side because letters don't go out of prison that you don't read them. I'm sure they've got, when letters, I think in some prisons over here, when the prisoners send letters, they have to leave them open.
Was Clinton head of the CIA too?
Clinton? No. He was just a good old boy. He was an attorney. He was governor of Alabama, I think.
Somebody said this. This is just something that was said. If it's bullshit, let me know. They're like, yeah, Hillary tried to have the guy that died in a plane crash killed.
Which one? JFK Jr.?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the bomb came from. They were both running for senator.
Why was Hillary the one to make that? She was what, in charge? She was what?
Because she knew he'd beat her. She knew he'd beat her, so she got rid of him, and she became senator of New York.
Jesus. Who would want a woman like that in charge? Did that story ever see light of day?
Yeah, it is seeing light of day now. The problem is the mainstream media is all run by operatives, and they're not telling us the truth. But you've got a bunch of people on X, myself included, who do all the digging and put it out there. I haven't had a chance to do digging lately because of things I've got to take care of in my own personal life, but I share those people, what they put up on my account, just so that it gets out there. Plus I have friends who are who follow me and I follow them, and they wouldn't get the news otherwise because the mainstream media is not reporting it.
Yeah.
Denise, no, I can't honestly say I remember it. I'm sure I could look it up. You know, there's a lot of people out there that think this is conspiracy. That's fine too. I mean, believe what you want.
That's good. Love them.
But I'm one of these people that if I have a question about something, I'm going to dig and dig and dig until I find the information I need. And when you put your mind to finding something and don't give up, you find it.
Right.
And there are places to find it that, I mean, let's face it, the internet is dead. Everything's a dead end on the internet. I remember when the internet was wide open back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
What do you mean it's dead?
Everything is directed to a few sites. I mean, Google, they're in a lot of trouble right now, but if you go to Google and you type something in, you get like 15 different titles for the same site. They all lead to the same places.
Okay.
There are websites that I have saved on other computers and other hard drives and other floppy disks. That's how old they are, that I can't get to now. And if you don't know the exact address, and I can't use my floppy disk anymore, if you don't know the exact address, you'll never find it. The Wayback Machine is a good place to go, archive.org, because they archive everything there, but you have to know what you're looking for. Oh, Denise was there when he was murdered. Wow, Denise.
That must have been one hell of a interrogation room thing. Did I drop a call?
Jeez. And David Barkley asked if I'd ever heard of Kenny Bolin. Yeah, I've heard Pesci talk about him. I've heard Jacob talk about him, but I've never met him.
Yeah, he's nothing. Yeah. Boss Man says, do you have any more Shylock stories?
Shylock, no, that's the only one I know of to be true. It just blew me away because I always thought the movie was all, and he was saying, no, I've been there. I was there. And if you remember that scene, they beat those guys to a bloody pulp, dug a hole and buried them.
Right. And that was the guy that sent the letter?
No, that was his father. His father did that. Jimmy's his son. And Jimmy is in, hi Gonzo, Jimmy's in a maximum security prison. I think he's going to be in prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah. That was the guy, who did the murder himself?
No, that was Pete, his father. Jimmy is his son. He's the fake Sony exec.
Now, that Clinton thing, that had to have been mid-90s.
I'd say 98. You were saying
that was 80s when all that stuff took place.
1998 was when my husband brought that letter home.
Did the letter say why they wanted him gone again? I forgot if you said
that.
Yeah,
because he got arrested and he wanted to get out of that prison, and he was writing letters to Clinton. He was writing letters to his dad. He was writing letters to all kinds of people saying, get me out of here. And they were all ignoring him. So he got pissed. And he threatened to kill him.
Do you think, have you ever heard of the Illuminati before?
Yeah. Oh, Jimmy Hoffa.
Do you think the CIA is the Illuminati?
I think it's much bigger than the CIA. I think maybe, there's the octopus, and I think it's just one arm of the octopus. Denise said, what about Jimmy Hoffa? Denise, I'm from Miami, and for years, the rumor was that Jimmy Hoffa was buried in the end zone at the Orange Bowl. We don't know for sure. I wonder if they ever found his body.
I thought they never did. I thought that was
no, they didn't. He was friends with Jackie Gleason, and Jackie Gleason used to have, so did Richard Nixon. They had houses out on Key Biscayne.
Hoffa was a good movie. I'll have to see it. Thank you, LV.
Yeah, it was. Trying to think of that other movie that There's another movie that's made up of true stories, and it's Robert De Niro plays in all these movies, but he played in this movie, and he was the Jewish mob. He was the Jewish guy in the Italian mob, and he's the one that's responsible for bringing Las Vegas up, because he went out there when it was nothing but a desert.
Yeah, wouldn't the Jewish mob technically be breaking a lot of rules if they were
Don't they all?
Italians or just Jews?
What do you mean?
Did the Italian mob have just a lot of just straight Jewish people, or were most of them considered Italian Jews?
I'm assuming most of them are Italian since they only married on their own, but a lot of them did. But this guy worked for them. God, I wish I could remember his name. I want to say Sammy, but it's not, probably not. They did an interview with him once, and it's on the web somewhere. When I find it someday, I'll send you the link. They did an interview with him, and this interview was the prequel to the movie Casino, and a prequel to the movie that was about him.
Frank said, any stories about Bohemian Grove?
You'd have to see Alex Jones about that. That's the president, and the presidents go out there.
What is Bohemian Grove? I don't know what it is.
Bohemian Grove is this retreat that politicians and important people go out to, and they have this thing that Alex Jones filmed called Cremation of Care, where they have this giant owl statue, and they all dress in these freaky robes and do these chants and walk around a fire and burn this effigy. And there are pictures of Reagan at Bohemian Grove. There's pictures of Nixon at Bohemian Grove. I mean, you can pick those up on the web. Just put Bohemian Grove and hit images, and you'll see pictures of these things. But Alex Jones snuck in and did a filmed the whole thing. The whole.
Who's Alex Jones?
Alex Jones is one of the earlier independent people, and a lot of people, and myself included, for a long time thought he was controlled opposition, but it turns out that he's been spot on, and it's all coming out now. He snuck into Bohemian Grove when they were having this gathering, and from across this lake or pond or whatever, he filmed it secretly, and he came back and he put
an iPhone. He's just over here like,
with a camera. With a camera, he filmed the whole thing, and he came back and he put it. His channel is called InfoWars. I don't know if you can find it on YouTube, but it is on Rumble, and you can get him on Twitter X. And he recently did an interview with Tucker Carlson.
What do you think of Tucker?
I like him. He's got balls.
Much more than a news guy.
Well, he's not handcuffed anymore. There was a lot of things he wanted to report on when he was with NBC and or with Fox, and he couldn't because they handcuffed him. And Amy Rohrbach, if you see that interview with her, there's it's not exactly an interview, just somebody filming her at her desk. She had Jeffrey Epstein dead to rights. She had all the information on Epstein, and she was ready to go live with it and report on it. The girl that's suing them and suing Ghislaine Maxwell, she had gotten her to come out of hiding, got all this information from her about Prince Andrew, everything. And the news killed it. They killed it. They did not want her reporting it. Because when that comes out about, you think the mafia is bad? No. Jeffrey Epstein, when the information from Epstein's Islands comes out, it's going to shock people. People are going to be shocked when all this information, right now we're at a drip, and the information's coming out drip by drip by drip by drip, just enough for people to put 2 and 2 together. But when the flood happens, we're going to be looking at suicide weekend. And we've already had a bunch of bankers meet their death. I mean, one guy not too long ago, what was it, last year, year before last, jumped off the building, jumped off the bank. There was another Chinese banker that came up mysteriously dead.
Why?
Because this news is coming out. These are pedophiles.
Mm.
Do you know what happened?
So these bankers were pedophiles.
Do you know what happened on Epstein Island?
No.
They kidnapped preteen girls and took them to that island and kept them there. There was one girl that tried to swim for it and get off that island, and Ghislaine went out there with a boat and dragged her back. They had all these girls out there. What it was black.
You say Elaine DeGeneres?
No, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, Gislaine. Her father was Robert Maxwell, who was deep in with the Mossad. So now she's with Jeffrey Epstein, who we suspect also is part of the Mossad. It's a blackmail operation. They get politicians and stars and singers and, people with a name to come to the island. And then they have sex with these girls who are 14 and 15 years old. And they've got children there too, under 10. And they would have sex with them and he would film it. So now the Mossad has blackmail on that politician and that rock star and that rap star. Now watch what's happening with P. Diddy.
Yeah, I've been
Puff
hearing
Daddy,
about him.
It's all coming out.
I've been hearing a lot of stuff with him. Actually.
Yeah. Think of that.
Cat Williams did an interview exposing him. Cat Williams said that P. Diddy offered him $50 million to go in the sheets with him, and Cat Williams refused. And then P. Diddy tried to have him picked up and.
Yeah, and Terry Crews told his story. I like Terry Crews. I think he's awesome. He told his story that when he was up and coming, he was threatened. He was told to have sex with this guy, one of his agents.
Now, you think Terry went along with it?
No, he didn't. But he told on him. And we haven't seen too much of him lately.
Terry Crews?
Yeah.
I guess so. It really wasn't like he was making.
No, but he was starting to come up.
My problem, what they did with Terry Crews, and I think it was done on purpose when you watch some of these YouTube videos on, what they do to certain black people when they get in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. But they always kind of put them in these kind of like girly roles.
Yeah, that's part of the humiliation ritual.
Yeah.
It's a humiliation ritual, and it's not just the black dudes. They do it to white dudes too. Part of your contract is at some point.
I just heard about it first through the Terry Cruzes of the world, and that shit is when I was first.
And if you look back, let's see, Dustin Hoffman did it, Robin Williams did it, a lot of actors.
Well, what's the difference between what's that group that they say Tom Cruise is in? What's that about?
Tom Cruise, that's Scientology. That's a whole other ball game.
Yeah, exactly. What's the difference between that and the Illuminati, you think?
Not much. Scientology is like its own other little mob. Geez, those guys are so twisted.
Because they say they think he did some.
I don't think it's Tom Cruise. I think it's Buddy that runs the place. Miscavige.
Yeah, I never heard of him.
He's the guy that runs Scientology. He's a nasty piece of work. And they're big down here in Clearwater.
David Barkley said Terry Crews did Shannon Sharp's show yesterday. Check it out, Mud Rabbit.
I will. I like Shannon Sharp.
You would like the Cat Williams one. The Cat Williams one was great.
I saw it twice. I had to watch it a second time just to make sure I could hear what he had to say. And
what was the most interesting thing you heard in there? Mine was the P. Diddy.
I've seen all the news on Puff Daddy lately too. This is what I mean.
Because a lot of his old bodyguards were coming out, and that girl came out with that lawsuit. The one that he tried to have escorts have sex with her or whatever. And then that bodyguard says.
His personal assistant had all of them walk around with belly bags filled with different kinds of drugs in case P. Diddy wanted any.
Yeah, remember, and that one bodyguard said that he saw like a group of women that were like singers or something, and he said that I'm going to get them drugged up or something and put them in the dope fiends. And
they used to spike the alcohol.
Hold on 1 second, Mud Rabbit. Continue talking. I got to take this phone call real fast.
Yeah, Kirstie Alley was. Kirstie Alley was.
Give me 1 second, Mud. Give me exactly 1 minute. I got to talk to this delivery guy real quick.
Okay. Yeah, Tom Cruise is Scientology's big guy. Can you guys hear me? Put a Y in the chat if you can hear me. Oh, okay, they can hear me. Yeah, Scientology, yeah. Tom Cruise is big in Scientology. Yeah, she did.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Sorry about the delivery. Yeah, well, did you have any other stories you want to tell?
Oh, I had one for a minute there and then I forgot it. Which one was that?
Man, I think those
Joel took me around. What I found really weird was my boss down in Miami took me around the courthouse one day and I couldn't figure out why. He just said, Peg, come with me. So I got in the car and I went with him down to the courthouse. And all we did was walk around while he introduced me to some judges. And I couldn't figure out what that was all about. I was just his accounts receivable. It's always stumped me. It's like, why would he introduce me to these judges unless he had some sort of connection? So here's my brain going clicking and making these connections, wondering, why is he doing this? I'm nobody.
Right? Sorry.
It's just all these little things that don't add up that I look back over. And now that I'm older, I tend to still have a little asterisk on those things, trying to figure them out. But the interesting stuff was Bobby Rubino's and Pete and his son, Jimmy. Mm-hmm. When they were closing a lot of their stores, the last store they had was Pompano. And they used to go over there and hang out in the office. And I used to think that's a lot like The Sopranos, how they used to hang out in the office and just sit there all day long and plan whatever they do. But they weren't.
Lobsters are in Seminole Indians and Disney in southern Florida nowadays.
No, the Indians have always had their own family. You've got the Seminoles and you've got the Miccosukees. I have a very good friend that grew up with all of them out there in the Everglades, and she knows them better than I do. But they own the Hard Rock Cafe over here on 441. And it's big. I mean, you've got a casino, you've got a stage. I've been to a few shows there. Am I muted?
You're good. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was telling this guy they screwed up this order. That's why they were calling me back. Hello?
Yeah, it's not mob. I mean, it's just the Indians. They've always kind of had their own thing going. The reservation here used to be this little tiny place where you could drive over and get cigarettes for cheap. And they had a few stores and it was very small. Now, if you see it, it just covers up tracts of land. I mean, and you see it from a distance. It's just amazing. And it's all owned. I think it's the Seminoles, because that was the Seminole reservation. Before that, they had a bingo hall over there. And that was the biggest thing on 441 was the bingo hall. but they've got the Hard Rock Cafe now and all that land and all those buildings.
You know who Giggle Pickles is?
Who is?
Bossman says, are you on speaking terms with Giggle Pickles?
Giggle Pickles? I've never spoken directly to her. I know who she is.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know. I didn't know you knew her. That's why I thought that was funny.
I know who she is, but I've never had any interaction.
Pablo, get a life.
Give him a treat.
Indiana Jake, I think he missed it. He wanted to know, ask Mud Rabbit, is Trump still being president?
I don't think he's acting president. I think he's commander in charge, CIC.
And he wanted to know, what is Q? What is Q?
Q was the information dropped in Socratic form first on 4chan, and then when it got compromised and we got shills, it moved over to 8chan. And then when they started compromising us there, we moved to 8kun, 8kun. Now, if anybody wants to read those drops, I'll put the link in the chat. It's QAnon.pub, and they go in reverse from the newest to the oldest. But we were getting these drops on a daily basis, and it was giving us information to dig. Nobody hands you information that you appreciate. You have to find it yourself. So they use the Socratic method.
What is QAnon, like an underground Boy Scout club or something?
No, we don't know what it is. All we know is that they had information that normal people don't have, and because of rules and laws, they couldn't tell us directly what the information was, but they could give us the Socratic method. You know what that is, don't you? The Socratic method is where somebody I'm
sorry.
Those doggies upset. The Socratic method is where instead of giving you the answer, they give you the question. And you take that question and you go dig up the information concerning that question. Yes, FC. 4chan was where we started getting it first. And then we got the shills, so we moved it to 8chan. And when 8chan got the shills, we moved it to 8kun. And now he's not doing the drops anymore, but that website that I put there, QAnon.pub, you can go there and you can look at every drop that's there and you can see exactly what I mean. These are questions designed to make you curious. And the fact they took it to 4chan was because all the autists are in there. People who like to dig, people who concentrate and dig information simply because it interests them to do so. I'm one of those people. So they told us, we're calling you autists to dig this information up. And the thing about doing it that way is when one of us digs it up, we can go put it on X. We can put it on social media for other people to see. So we started doing that. And when we started doing that, Facebook started banning those people. Twitter banned us. I lost one of my Twitter accounts because of it. I shared one of Mel.
Oh, because of something you shared politically or something?
Yeah, because we would dig up this information. I'll give you an example. Right. He gave us a drop concerning Adam Schiff. So we all started digging on Adam Schiff. And clue in the Socratic method, we were talking about who diddles little kids. So we all started digging, and I found it right away, but I'm not fast enough, and I was working off an iPad. And when I went to drop the link, I had seen 2 other people had already dropped it. What we dug up was an organization called Liddle, Liddle, Kids, that offers massage to babies and toddlers. And then they hire pedos in these places. It was a scheme. And then they brought up the Standard Hotel. Now, what we have dug up was that Adam Schiff used to take little kids to the Standard Hotel. And there's one particular little black boy that there's a picture of him with that we don't know what happened. We think that's the child that died. He used to drug them up and then rape them. And he took this little boy up to the Standard Hotel, up to a room, drugged him, raped him, but he overdosed him, and the child died. He was only 11
Who was
years
this
old.
again?
Adam Schiff, representative
Jesus.
from California. So we dug up that information on it. And when we started dropping that kind of information in Twitter, on Facebook, in all the social medias, they started banning us and taking our accounts. I had opened up a separate account to do that with. And I shared one of Mel Q's posts. She is so good at digging information. And I shared one of her posts concerning COVID and the vaccine. And let me tell you something, they cut us both off at the knees. Took my account, wouldn't let me have it back, wouldn't talk to me. This is when Jack Dorsey used to run it before Elon Musk bought it. So they were banning.
Sounded like you said something about a vaccine.
Yeah, we were talking about COVID and the vaccine.
Oh, never got that.
They didn't want us talking about it. Well, we were finding out information.
Shout out to the unvaxxed.
We were finding out information about what was in it and what it was doing to people. And Operation Warp Speed is not what people think it is. Warp Speed was when, at the same time that Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson were making all these vaccines, Warp Speed came in with the placebos. So a lot of people that were intending to get, because they didn't want a mass die-off. I mean, if you
what is a placebo?
A placebo is saline. It's saline. It's a fake. Oh, and they got a lot of these fakes out to the populace so that we wouldn't have a mass die-off. But if you look at what's happening now, you have athletes dropping dead, and you have young people having heart attacks.
Heart attacks. LeBron's kid.
When the autopsies are performed, they're pulling out mile-long blood clots. So we were putting this information out there, and they cut us off at the knees.
Yeah.
So the placebos got out there.
I heard somebody say the other day they're up to like the 10th shot. Like, what the hell?
That's Fauci, and he's already in
trouble. What kind of person's getting a 10th shot? Like, we got the 10th shot coming.
Yeah, I know. Oh, there's a lot to be said.
That would have scared the hell out of me.
There's a lot to be said for natural immunity.
They would have had to have paid me a lot of money.
People were getting donuts and free burgers and free Cokes and free milkshakes.
I would have passed on the burger. I would have been like, no.
This kind of brings to mind the 30 pieces of silver. Holy shit, these people. I mean, wake up. Wake up. People in my family got this shot, and I'm praying to God they got the placebo. So far, nobody's gotten sick.
I almost wonder if, and I know a lot of people that do it for jobs and some other reasons.
Yeah.
But
I
wonder if now a majority of the people who did get vaccinated, I wonder if they feel silly.
Like, I think the ones who are getting sick.
At this point, I would feel really silly. I would be like, fuck.
I think there's a lot of regret out there among the people that got the real one. And the problem with that was they sent more of the real ones to Republican areas, Republican counties and states than they did to Democratic. But it got diluted. That's what Warp Speed was all about. And when Trump says he got the vaccine, he's not talking about COVID, honey. He's talking about what we're dealing with. The real virus are these politicians and these actors who are pushing this agenda, the trans agenda and the climate change agenda.
Right.
That's the ones.
Yeah.
But, and you'll notice, we also have film, we have video of the fake shots.
What's a fake shot?
The fake shots, the world leaders, you know, the fake hypodermics where when you go, it looks like you're putting the needle in, but actually there's a spring and it just pushes back into the.
Oh, you're saying they were doing live COVID shots?
Yeah, and we got
Jim Prickett getting his COVID shot.
Yeah, we got close-ups of Biden, we got close-ups of Kamala, we got close-ups of
he must have one hell of a camera.
we
You
got
said
close up.
close-up.
Well, no, you have the video of them getting it, and then you have people who have the ability to zoom in and enlarge that section, and you can
Let me let my dog in. I'm listening though.
you can clearly see that there's a spring in that syringe, and that needle is not going into the skin. You can clearly see it. But when you try to show it to somebody who doesn't want to believe it, and unfortunately, people who did get the vaccine are resistant because you don't want to believe it.
No, I believe it because I said to myself, like for instance, and I put like I use LeBron James for instance. I'm like, why would an athlete at top physical shape like him get a COVID shot? Why would a guy like Tom Brady get a COVID shot? I don't think they did. You know what I mean? They might have sat on
Whether it was real or whether it was not, I mean, they don't care about Tom Brady any more than they care about us. So somebody could come along like Soros, and Soros is behind a lot of this. George Soros, they come in like, look at what's happening with Fannie Willis right now.
Who's Fannie Willis?
Oh, well, Fani Willis, but we're calling her Fannie. The attorney.
She worked for Biden?
No, she's the attorney in Atlanta, Georgia, the DA, who is prosecuting Trump for election denial. And she's all of a sudden gotten herself into a lot of trouble because she's
now. Do you think she knows Trump's still president, or she does not?
No, none of them. Well, I think the higher ups, not that he's president, commander in charge. We have to separate this. Biden is a standing president in everybody's eyes. But if you look at that video when Trump left, he took the football. And Nancy Pelosi spent so much effort trying to get it back from him.
Took the football.
He took the nuclear football with him. He didn't let Biden have it.
Nuclear football? What the hell is a nuclear football? I was
The
thinking
nuclear football it's a handbook that has instructions of what to do in a nuclear war, whether you're starting
We'll call it nuclear handbook.
They call it the football. And you can see he's leaving with it.
Oh, no, he did. She did explain what the football was.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking set hike. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, Trump has given us enough clues. If you pay attention to the videos he's in, and if you pay attention exactly to what he says, he's giving you clues every time he has a rally.
Why will he be at a when you say a clue, define clue,
okay, say that you're included. Say you're somebody like me who's included in an operation because you're considered an autist. I can spend hours on the computer digging up information that nobody thought of, and I've done it for years. You find these people, and you find these people on 4chan, 8chan, and 8kun. That's where you find them because they're not on the regular internet. The internet's dead. You can only go so far on the internet these days. But you get into that part of the web, and you get information, and you talk to people who have information. And the only rule when you're in there is that you remain anonymous. When you're in that particular board that we were all in, you don't give your name. You don't say who you are. You stay anonymous, and you dig, and you put it all there. Now, some of us have branched off.
So you went by Mud Rabbit. They're like, code name Mud Rabbit.
No. Everybody is Anon. A-N-O-N. We know who each other is, some of us now, but we all use names like mine. There is Clandestine. There is L, Defiant L. There's Mel Q. There's MMJ Truth. We all.
Did you guys all write these names down on a piece of paper and vote for them at like a get together?
No. We just got to know each other. What happened was when we were in those channels, we all remained Anon. Everybody was the same name, Anon, A-N-O-N. They didn't want anybody.
That got real confusing. Well, yeah.
Well, all we're doing is digging and dropping information. Right. And the only reason they didn't want us giving name is because there were shills in there trying to find out who we were. So they wanted us all to remain anonymous. But what happened was when we branched out on social media, we all recognized the people who had the same information that we all had. And now we've got nicknames. So we know who
You
each
will
other.
be nicknamed Mud Rabbit.
I'm always Mud Rabbit. I've been Mud
No
Rabbit.
longer unknown.
Right. I've been Mud Rabbit since 1996. But when I was in there and when I was digging information and dropping it, I had to remain anonymous. No names, no numbers, no faces, no nothing. Just anon. And it really
Gonzo, you are correct.
I'm sorry?
Gonzo said there's nothing written on that clipboard. I said, you are correct.
Mm-hmm. What clipboard? QAnon.pub?
No, this clipboard.
Oh. But once we started branching out in social media and you recognize people that are all pushing the same information you are, then you all kind of glom together. So we follow each other.
Oh, so this is your current job?
It's not a job. It's more like a hobby that I enjoy doing. I mean, trust me, it hasn't been easy, but you have to enjoy doing
nicknames. Nickname with a hobby ain't bad.
Oh, well, I just like to dig for information. I like to know the truth. I mean, we've got so many lies in this world. I want to know the truth. And my habit has always been to have backup.
Man, I wonder. See, what's funny about the Trump being president still is
commander in charge.
I wonder what Joe Biden thinks.
Well, you know? We call him the resident, but Trump we think is the commander in charge.
So, take me to this real quick. So, if the current president doing something, he's not doing well, and they're like, "Look, man, we got to go back with oh boy, you're gonna have to pretend though that we didn't do anything, but all decisions going forward are going to be."
Joe's not making any decisions. Joe's got dementia. Joe's a puppet. Remember, you've got Obama in the basement who's telling Joe and his staff,
Obama, you get the basement.
Yeah.
It's huge down there.
He's telling Joe and his staff what to say. One of Joe's handlers is the press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre. She's the one that does all his posts on X because we caught her in a mistake one time where she posted something where she was supposed to be POTUS, and instead she posted it under her own, and then she deleted it. But Alex over at Benny Johnson caught it and made a screenshot, and I kept that screenshot. And every time he has a post that shows up on my feed, I drop it in there just to remind him, we know it's not you making this post. It's Karine Jean-Pierre. So anything you see on X or on social media that's supposedly posted by the president of the United States, Joe Biden, it's not him. It's Karine Jean-Pierre. She's part of it.
Kamala's attractive, believe it or not. But president, I don't really know. I don't really know what a president does. But
I can't listen to Kamala. All she has is word salad. Oh my God, that
I didn't say I like listening to her.
She is dumb. She is dumb. God, is she dumb?
Yeah, I've seen some funny YouTube clips of her not looking too smart.
Those are actual clips.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, those are actual clips. I have seen her.
Well, they recently had that clip of Joe Biden was with some family. He went and ate at an African American family's house, and he brought fried chicken or some weird shit.
Yeah, I know. He's such an idiot.
Uncomfortable comments, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Well, he's a racist, and racists that are that bad don't know how to act.
Judge Joe Brown said Biden was a racist.
He is a racist. Back in the day when he was senator, he made comments saying when we were going through desegregation, he made comments against desegregation because his thought was once you let the black kids into the white kids' school, his kids are going to be going to school in the jungle. That's an idiot.
Who said that, Biden or Obama?
Biden said that when he was a senator, and he said it in an address. And we have pictures of him with the grand poobah of the KKK holding hands and giving speeches. And we have pictures of Hillary kissing the grand poobah.
Here's what I noticed. Okay, so, and take this from an outsider's perspective, because I don't have a vote in the race.
David, exactly.
I never answered to a president. I'm a convict, so that's just too high for me to even think about. But what I've noticed, and I'll say this about Obama. I'll say something nice about Obama. When Obama and Trump, at least, whether they're bullshitting, telling the truth, or whatever, when it was time for those two to make a speech, it at least looked like they had a grasp on what's being said.
Oh, yeah, they do. They know.
Joe Biden has these things. It's like they end up going disaster. Like, you can make videos like, maybe not the funny one, like not funny to him, meaning like people just tear the guy apart in these interviews. It's like, I remember Trump would go up to the news that didn't like him, and he would give them, their time of day or whatever.
Yeah.
And even though he knew they didn't like him, he would still be able to talk for himself. It looks like Joe is just like you said. It looks like he's, from an outsider's perspective, he just doesn't know what's going on. Like you said, it looks like he's playing baseball and everybody's running around with that football you were talking about.
Yeah. Did you see the Her report?
No, I don't see any report.
The Her report, the man stated that Joe Biden is so far gone, they can't even put him to trial. They can't even hold him accountable because he doesn't know where he's at. He doesn't know the time of day. They say that he runs around the White House naked at night. His dog is bitten 23 Secret Service men.
Joe, put some fucking clothes on. Yep. Rachel's here.
What was
we got Obama in the basement.
There is an interview where he was with somebody and she started the interview and he abruptly ended it because he thought the interview was over. And as he stood up, he shit his pants. And when he went to the Vatican to meet the Pope, I think it wasn't the Pope, it was the royal family, one of the two. He shit his pants while he was meeting with them and didn't even realize he did it. But Camilla.
How the hell did you get a piece of information like that?
That we all have it. Camilla,
right here.
You won't get it
from the 9th, Joe shit his pants.
You will not get it from the mainstream media. You will get it from the Anons. And they're all over on Truth Social and on X. They're also on Telegram.
The Truth Social. Man,
Truth
can
Social.
You imagine that? He's running around the house naked. He's got Obama in the basement with his... I wonder if their kids came out.
Well, Obama's not really in the basement. Obama's across the street somewhere, but we say Obama in the basement.
We're good, Joe. We're over here at the Hilton.
Yeah, he's definitely instructing Biden's staff what to do. He can't instruct Biden because Biden fucks everything up. And Obama said one time, he said, you can't do anything with Biden. He fucks up everything he touches. And we got that.
He just looks like, and this isn't even me saying anything bad about the guy because I don't know enough about him. I would say he just looks like this isn't the right position for him.
It never was. Even being senator, it never was.
And listen, I know Kamala, like people say, she doesn't know what she's saying, blah, blah, blah.
She's an idiot.
I just said you might as well have had her be president because it looks better than what Joe's doing.
Oh, God forbid, no.
So we would have something to laugh. I mean, we had something to laugh about. The Biden thing kind of got boring.
At least Joe's not making any decisions. Kamala would start making decisions that really would not help. I don't think Kamala would know how to make a decision. She's slept her way to the top.
Yeah, Judge Joe Brown said that.
Willie Brown
alone. So yeah, when I was doing a clip show with a real lefty. And I would show him clips of the right, what they would say, or people that lean that way. And he would respond to them. And what you just brought up, Judge Joe Brown said, Kamala ain't a Democrat or a Republican.
No.
She went the route wherever, if she could have got to be, top position as a Republican, she would have went that route. The road that opened up for her, no pun intended, was the Democratic road. That's what I heard.
You have to get into the club by doing something for them. She slept with Willie Brown, not Judge Brown.
And that guy that was on Channel 5 or whatever.
She was also with Montel Williams.
Montel Williams, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Channel 3, whatever.
she has slept her way. We call her knee pad Kamala.
I just call her KK.
Yeah, but no, she's a piece of work. She moved her up because she did the things they wanted her to do. And now this all brings us into another thing, which is why Joe is going downhill. What was it all these people getting that they don't get anymore? There's a drug. And this drug is extracted from children that they torture. It's called adrenochrome. And what they do is they torture these children to death. And at a certain point, your adrenal glands, when you're in that much terror, produce high amounts of adrenochrome and throw it into the blood. And these people take that, and you can look it up online. They've got pictures of vials and everything. And they take this stuff, and it keeps them young. It keeps them healthy. But the problem is, once you start taking it, you can't stop. We're talking modern day vampires. And anybody can.
It's like Incredible Hulk. It's like, ah!
You can call me a conspiracy theory if you want, but we have the proof that this is what they've been doing. And Epstein was in on it. And how many children?
I gotta say, I love conspiracy theorists. So
how many children have died? And this is the branch I've gone off of. I go on the branch where I dig for people who abuse children. And if you look at Grady Judd up in Polk County, he takes all this information, the sheriff, and he has.
He's in the chat.
He's got some amazing, amazing busts up there in Polk County. I watch it all the time. I don't know who's giving him the information, where he's getting it from, but man, oh man, he's going after them. But these people, they're evil. They are totally evil. And this is what they do to children. They rape them. They torture them. They sell their body parts. I got to tell you, I saw a film, in 2017, I saw a film right after I got with the Q movement. And I think it came from the dark web, and I can't unsee it. And I have prayed for this. I have prayed for this little girl. I don't know who she is, but it was, I think, in Syria when all that bombing was going on. It was an old video, probably 5-10 years old by then. And this little girl, she couldn't have been more than 4 years old. She was crying because she couldn't find her mommy, couldn't find her daddy. They were probably dead from all this bombing. And this man came out of a door and grabbed her and brought her in and laid her down on a gurney. They put her to sleep. And as soon as she went to sleep, they cut her stomach open.
Jesus.
And I threw up. I threw up all over my desk. I cried for days. I want to cry now about it. This is the thing they do to children. And I don't care who doesn't believe me. I've seen it with my eyes on these videos, and it is evil. And this little girl, I don't know who she was. I call her Aaliyah, and I include her in prayer. This is horrendous, and this is what they do.
Damn.
So this is one of and the CIA is in on it. Jeffrey Epstein is in on it. Hillary Clinton is in on it. Huma Abedin is in on it. So many people, so many world leaders are in on it. They take this drug. It's the best high, they've said, in the world. It keeps you young. It keeps you fit. I mean, it doesn't reverse you, but it keeps you going. It's good for the body. You know, it just keeps you going. But you can't stop taking it once you start taking it. And if you look at these people, how fast they're going downhill, certain politicians like Joe. And we have pictures of him with children too. I mean, please.
I thought, yeah, I know he's weird, but I thought, okay, don't you have to take a test to make sure you have the mind to run the country?
You have to belong to the club. They have chosen our presidents for us most elections. You can't even get into the running for a president unless they approve. This is why they hate Trump so much. And if you listen to them, they're projecting like crazy. Everything they've done, they're projecting onto him.
Right.
What these people do, they project. It's the same thing as any narcissist or psychopath. When you notice that something is missing, and I've run into this with my work, when you notice there's money missing, and you know who took it, and you tell that person, I know you have it, they blame it on you. No, you did it. You were the last one in the office.
I almost believe it when you guys say that Trump is still president because Biden did such a bad job. Maybe he was like, you know what, we're going to do such a bad job, they're going to have no choice but to bring us back.
Exactly.
President
and
anyway.
if you look at this immigration thing, I really don't think that many people are coming in. I mean, I think a lot of that, we were told to enjoy the movie. The whole theme through this, what was it, 3-year-long saga of getting these drops, every now and then they tell you, enjoy the movie, get your popcorn. Because those of us who have searched out and understand what's going on, we've been told to sit back and just enjoy it because there's nothing really we can do. Nothing we can do but tell other people. That's all. Just get the information out there and we'll do the rest. So
if I refer to, now wait, what was the number President Trump was?
45.
And he likes being called 45 sometimes. Do you think if I called him 46, he'd get mad at me?
He'd probably laugh at you.
Yeah, that was the answer I was thinking of.
But no, I get what you mean. He probably is.
No, I'd say, what up, 46, and I wink at him.
Yeah, because Joe really isn't. Joe's a mess. Joe is a mess. But they're all running scared right now. If you watch what they're doing, they're making bad decisions. I mean, look at what just happened in California with Adam Schiff. The guy that he was running against was way ahead of him. And then I saw the ticker, like in a few seconds, the number switched. The number switched.
Said, ask her if she thinks that lap dancing dishwasher has been compromised in the real Indiana Jake has been, huh? Oh, I think he's just joking.
Trump has given some clues to that. The first clue that he gave was, he says, Joe is shot. He's shot. He doesn't know where he's at.
Well, that's not a clue. That's a good, that's what I call a good observation.
Right. But you have to kind of understand where it was coming from on the cue board. When he says something like that, he says it so that the normies see it one way and that the anons see it another way.
Is the cue board like a chalkboard?
No, it's the 4chan 8chan 8kun. But go to, it's not there anymore. Go to QAnon.pub and all of them are there cleaned up. And there's links if you want to check back.
I'll take your word for it. I'm not much of a reader.
But okay, where was I? He says things like that, and
Trump being president, the hints.
Yeah, he'll say something like that, like Joe's shot, he's shot, and normies will take that. Yeah, he's got dementia. Yeah, he's shot, all right. But the anons look at it and go, "Oh, he's been executed."
I think if Biden wins, what that tells the country is he's not really running anything.
You know, Natalie Biden came on, was it Natalie or Naomi? Naomi Biden. She came on and did a quick blurb on YouTube and said, I don't know if you all know this or not, but my grandfather has a twin. And then she went off. I don't know if she's telling the truth. I don't know if it's Jim Biden in a mask. I don't know if Joe Biden actually has a twin. But there's another video when he was outside.
What's the story? What's the story behind Joe Manchin? I heard him say Joe Manchin. Who's Joe Manchin?
He's one of the. He's another politician. But what I was saying was with Joe, they caught this guy that was supposed to be Joe Biden outside of a restaurant in a parking lot, and the people out there were obviously anons and were clued in because they looked at him and they said, "Which one are you, Joe? Which one are you?" And the guy did a little dance and trotted off down in a dancing motion down the parking lot and just smiled and put his hands in the air. And it's like, that's not Joe Biden.
Run!
I was like, that's not Joe Biden. He can't walk like that.
The guy was on like an old man, and they're like, "That's not Biden." And the guy just takes off. He takes his wig off, and he's running.
No, he didn't take a wig off. He just did the shrugging motion and did a little movement with his feet, and then turned around and crossed his ankles and walked off really fast, shaking his hips. And they let girls in the background laughing, going, "I knew it! I knew it wasn't really Joe." And the guy is laughing as he walks down the parking lot, and we're all. I mean, I'm sitting there looking at this thing, going,
The guy that they thought was Joe was laughing.
No, yeah, he was laughing.
He's just limping like.
No. It was not Joe Biden, but he came out of a speech. It was Joe Biden giving a speech, and everybody, all these Democrats were there to hear this speech. And then when he was leaving through the back parking lot, somebody in the parking lot saw him and started teasing him about not being really Joe Biden. Are you really Joe Biden? And the guy, what he did was something Joe Biden couldn't possibly do.
He did a backflip.
No,
I ain't Joe Biden.
He did a little step with his feet. He put his hands in the air, shrugging. He smiled and laughed and turned around and walked off with a beat, like he was dancing.
He was just a local homeless guy, one of the saxophone players.
Well, he just came out of a speech as Joe Biden. He just came out of a speech as Joe Biden. So some of us were speculating that on the mask, and he's got to have a mask, and he's had so many facelifts, it'd probably be easy to fake him.
That would have been a great video.
But they did do it. We did do a side.
Joe Biden. What a video that would have been.
We did do a side-by-side comparison, and you can do it too. Get a picture of Joe Biden in the 90s and get a current picture of Joe Biden, put them side by side.
Well, you got to figure those are going to look a little different.
Well, no, they're going to look different because of all the facelifts and Botox he's had. But what I'm telling you is, look at the eyes. The eyes are a different color. The head shape is a different color. The hairline is different. The chin is different. The ears are different.
Oh, now I get what you're saying. So this might
anybody can do that. Get a picture of Joe Biden in the 90s or the early 2000s and put it next to a current picture and compare.
Wow.
But these are things, they're right in our face. They are right in our face, but because we're so blind and we're so complacent and we're so wrapped up with our jobs and our bills and our kids and our groceries and our house mortgage and all of that and the taxes, that we don't have time to stop and look at these things. And I'm retired. I have all the time in the world. So a lot of us out there who are considered autists do this sort of thing, and we dig up this information and we put it out there, and people can call us crazy all they want, but there's going to come a day where everybody has a come to Jesus meeting. We're still waiting.
What do they call your guys' meeting when you guys share your information that you dug
We
up?
don't meet up. What we do is we're on Telegram, we're on X, and we're dropping, and we're on Truth Social.
Is Telegram where they put the thing in the bird and the bird flies?
No, Telegram is an app.
Oh shit. I'm thinking old age shit.
Like X is an app. And X, they're all
over. So Telegram, like they put it in the stool pigeon and the pigeon goes.
Oh, no. It's an app. Telegram is an app. And Truth Social is an app. And X is where it's all happening. Q told us never to leave the battlefield, and that the battlefield was Facebook and Twitter. So I'm still over on X, still sharing all this information along with MJ Truth, along with BioClandestine, along with Defiant L, along with all of them. We're all throwing this information. There's hundreds of us, and we're all throwing this information out there. And we get attacked, but we don't care. You just mute them. But
is it time for a younger president?
Probably. I hope the VP is younger.
Well, they've seemed like they got that on lock now.
Well, Trump knows who his VP is going to be, but we don't.
Right.
I'm guessing, and I don't know if I'm right or not, but the last party he had at Mar-a-Lago, he walked in with Vivek Ramswar, with his wife.
What's that? Is that like a hotel he owns?
Mar-a-Lago, he owns the whole thing. It's a big, huge mansion here in West Palm Beach. This rich woman back in the day built it. And when her husband died, she donated it to the White House and saying that it could be used like the White House. And it got too expensive for the upkeep, so they sold it and Trump bought it. And he's owned it for years. It's beautiful. But we call that the other White House.
Not shocked.
It's all going to come out. It's going to come out. And if people pay attention, the drops are happening right now, drip by drip by drip, and the drips are getting faster. And soon the faucet is going to be open, and these people aren't going to know where to run. Like I was saying before, if you look at the politicians, Nancy Pelosi especially, she's freaking out. She is freaking out. All the things they're doing, they're rushed. They're not thinking them through. It's like one thing after the other they're trying to do to get him and his people, and it all backfires on them. It's because they don't have time to think it through.
Well, and like I said, if they were to allow this guy to run again, and he's the guy that wins, what does that say about the United States? They just want to go down then.
Who, Biden? No,
I'm talking about if they were to win again, if Biden were to win again, what would that say about the average voter?
Okay, let me explain what happened in 2016. The only reason Trump got elected in 2016 was because the voting machines that were rigged were taken over by white hats so that they could not be compromised. Even Governor Kemp, who was it?
Sean?
No, the Governor Kemp, governor of Georgia. When it became apparent to the deep state that they could not control the voting machines that year, they called Governor Kemp and said, "You've got to let us into the voting machines." Now, those politicians that did allow them into the voting machines, these are all in the places where they had the voting irregularities. But
do you think?
Oh, I know.
Do you think Trump, according to your theory, if Trump's still still president, do you think he's mad that he accused them of rigging the election if he knew he was going to be running the country still?
No, this is an operation, and this operation started shortly after Kennedy was killed. This operation has
It's called Secret President. All right, Secret President.
No, this operation has been going since shortly after John Kennedy was killed. It's only coming to fruition now because of what's happening in the world with technology.
Oh,
now,
wait a minute. Wait,
in the 80s, wait a minute. In the 80s, they interviewed Trump. I think, what was her name? They had him and asked him if he ever would run for president. And he said back then, he said he didn't really think he would, but if his country ever needed him, he would. So whatever this operation was that they started back in the mid-60s, Trump's been included at least since the 80s. He was best friends with John Jr.
With the Kennedys, right.
He was best friends with Kennedy's son, John F. K. Jr. That was his best friend.
I would love to hear his thoughts on who killed Kennedy.
Well, hey, if he's still alive, we will.
If who's still alive?
If JFK Jr. is still alive, we'll hear that story someday. I just hope I'm still alive when that happens. But all of this has been going on, and when they finally there was one thing that connects back in the late 90s. In the mid-90s, people did not have computers in their house. The only people that had computers were people that worked at the college or, things like that. People didn't have a computer. We watched TV, we had our activities, we just didn't even think about it because we didn't have computers. And then around 94, 95, people started getting computers in the home. And I got one in 1996. And then I started digging then, and back then the web was wide open, and came to find out, I'm not the only one that found this out. The only way we got the internet is because it was given to us by the Navy for this purpose. At the time, we didn't know for what purpose, but this is part of the operation. We got in-home computers, and they made it a thing so that we could do this now.
Dude, I think this is amazing.
I think this is the flashpoint. This time in history
you
is
know
the
what?
flashpoint.
You know why that would almost make a little sense, and let me tell you my theory. Why the secret president would make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because every country, right? They don't want their number one leader to get killed. So why not just put a plant leader up front? So look, we'll call Jim number one, but really Ricky's our guy.
Well, that's what Saddam Hussein did.
In case the people come from, wherever, Thailand, wherever, they come for Jim. If they get him, at least we still got our guy.
Well, the deep state has run all of our presidents since Kennedy, and a few before. I think it was Wilson who was it? We got into the Federal Reserve. This is the second time we've been pushed into the Federal Reserve. And by the way, while Trump was president, he bankrupted them. He bankrupted them, and he bought up the Wall Street. So right now, what we see as the federal bank is a front, because he took all the money, all the accounts, everything, and he put it back into the Treasury where it should be in the first place. And we got our gold back. We got all of our gold back, and it went right into Fort Knox. Now, as far as Janet Yellen goes, when Biden came in, he put her in charge of the Fed, but she can't touch the money. She can sit there and postulate all she wants, but she can't touch it. They can do all the fear mongering they want, but it's in the Treasury, and it's not under her control. This is all an act. These people are pretending to gaslight us. It's all a big pretend so that they can gaslight us into voting for their guy next. Because they know what happened. They know what happened in 2016. The White Hats unrigged the voting machines so that Trump could win legally, so that the vote would be clean, and Trump won. Now, what they did was they let go of that and let them rig the machines again so that Biden won, because you had to have 4 years of him to wake up the people. And they told us this was going to be necessary.
Now that makes sense though. If they did it, that was like
you had to get Trump in there for 4 years to show us what he could do. And then you had to let Biden take over to show us what he would do.
Right.
Because that's the only way to wake up the people. You can talk until you're blue in the face, but people are not going to believe you.
That's why I said if they were to lose this one, holy smokes.
They won't. I think they've got a plan for the votes. I don't think we're going to vote the same way we did, but that's my speculation. I think that's why Elon has come into the picture now and why he bought X. He's also making X, he's calling it the Everything app. You should be able to do your banking, do your appointments, do everything that you do throughout your day or throughout your business life right there on one app. And we're going to go back to a gold-based currency. But our fiat has to crash first, and this is where it's going to hurt.
I love gold!
Yeah, but this is where it's going to hurt us, because Russia, Brazil, India, China, and there's another one, South America. Oh, no, not that. There's the BRICS. They're going to ditch the dollar. Now, what do you think is going to happen when they ditch the dollar? All the dollars that we have, all the cash that we have overseas is going to come back to the United States, and it's going to cause a major inflation over here. You think you got it bad now? This is the beginning of it. When all that money comes back to the United States, because the dollar is not the standard currency of the world anymore, we're going to have a flood of dollars and prices of things are going to go sky high. But it has to happen because we have to crash the dollar to get off a fiat system. And this is what the Anons are for, is to tell the people this so that they can prepare.
Next up, we got to crash the dollar. Get the nons together.
Yeah. Now,
we're going to need Mon and the rest of them. Non 1 and 3.
One of the Anons posed the question, should we prep? Should we start prepping? And they said it's not necessary. I suppose you should have enough food, water, toothpaste, necessities for at least 2 weeks to a month, but I don't think it's going to go any longer than that.
Should we prep? And then some guy, like, he's wearing a number 5 on his shirt. No, yet.
No, he told us it wasn't going to be necessary. I mean, most people nowadays buy enough stuff to last them for 2 weeks to a month anyway. But I think it's going to go so fast. And the federal government, the feds, are trying to get us to buy their CBDC. But when you buy into the feds' Bitcoin, it's their equivalent to Bitcoin. If you buy into that, then you're going to have to be like China. You're going to have all your purchases scrutinized. You're going to be told what you can spend it on and how much you can spend and how much your budget's going to be. No American wants that.
Right.
So this is why the CBDC is going to be dead on arrival. I don't know anything about Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of that. I have people online trying to sell me that stuff.
I do own a coin called Dogecoin.
Doge, yeah, that's the one that Elon was pushing. And I hear that one's pretty good. But I don't know enough about it, and I don't have money to invest. So I'm just going to fly along the side and hope things are for the best.
Well, the reason why I invested was because it was like 20-something cents. It's down from when I bought it, but it was like 20-something cents when I first bought in.
Yeah, I think it'll go back up. I mean, look at what Bitcoin did. It went down there for a while, and then it climbed back up again.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I think it's, personally for me, I think it's a risk. I think if you have some disposable income.
Me too, Denise.
I think if you have some disposable income that you can play with it a little bit and learn about it, but I don't have that disposable income. Right. Denise, yeah, we are going to go through a rougher time, and that's when suicide weekend's going to happen.
Gold will be coming back.
Yep. We're going to have a gold-based currency. Now, this is what's interesting. This is part of this long-term, multi-decade plan. Right before all of this started happening with Julian Assange and the WikiLeaks, and which led to Q, which led to what's going on now, you had Karen Hudes. She has since passed. I think she passed 2 years ago. She was the attorney for the World Bank or the World Economic Fund or something. And she became a whistleblower. And right before she became a whistleblower, the Treasury started printing these new $100 bills. You can take an old $100 bill from 20 years ago and compare it to the ones you have now. And she pointed this out. On the bottom right, there is a pot of gold. And if you hold it up to the light, you see it. But what you also see is that caveat that's in the Constitution, that the value of the money will be set by the people. It's written right on the $100 bill. Compare the new ones with an old one, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Hold them both up to the light. They started printing those, I think, 2014, 2015. And that's when Karen Hudes came out and started warning us about what was going on with the dollar, with the World Bank, with the World Economic Fund. And when she started blowing whistles, they locked her out of her office. And then they started, you've heard of targeted individuals before?
Never.
They targeted her. She got sicker and sicker and sicker until she died. But she never gave up. And she still got her information up on YouTube. Her name is Karen Hudes, Hudes. And if you go to Facebook and find her Facebook account, she's got links to all the paperwork, and you can read it for yourself. So anybody who's inclined to be a little autistic and want to do that, it's out there.
Or be a noun, like you would call them.
Now, after Karen Hudes blew all this up and caused a big furor, along came Julian Assange with the WikiLeaks. I read those emails. They're pretty gross. They jailed him. He had to hold.
How do you know these were just like fake emails that someone's like, ha?
They're not fake. They're not fake, because Hillary couldn't deny them. Neither could John Podesta. So that came out. And then after that leak was up and Julian Assange was dealing, at the same time he was dealing with being holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in Great Britain, that's when QAnon started. Or Q. I shouldn't say Q.
Today, the day Q started.
Yeah. That was 2017, October 30th.
Were they partying? Was it like a normal party? Was it like hors d'oeuvres?
No, I was watching Jordan Sather. A lot of people that I would watch on YouTube would go to these places and get information from this section of the web. And I'm sub to Jordan Sather. And he came on YouTube on one of his shows and told us about it on October 30th, 2017. And I got over there on October 31st on the second day. He gave directions. He gave a web link. He told us where to go and what to look for. And we all went over there. And then we got more people and more people because there was already people in there.
Welcome to paradise.
No, it wasn't exactly paradise. We had so many shills in there. But all of this is connected because it was one after the other that this happened. It was almost like it was written this way, like it was programmed this way. First, tell them about the money. Then tell them about the World Economic Forum. Then tell them what's happening at the World Bank. And then Julian Assange came out with the emails, which kind of held up what she was saying. And then Q came out, and then we understood her, and we understood Julian Assange and why all of this
so why do they call it QAnon sometimes? Is that because you're anon?
There's not really QAnon. I think they call it QAnon because the website is qanon.pub. There is Q, there are anons. There is no QAnon. But it got that moniker because of that qanon.pub. When the mainstream media, Rachel Maddow, started going over there and looking at it, she started using the term QAnon, and then all through NBC and Fox, they started using the term QAnon. And Q made it very clear when that started happening. 1, there is Q. 2, there are anons. 3, there is no QAnon. They're two separate things.
Is there a 5?
Huh?
Is there a 5? You said 4.
You said 1, 2, and 3.
No Q.
1, okay. There's Q. 2, there are anons. 3, there is no QAnon.
Okay.
Don't connect the two. Q is one entity.
10 times fast.
Yeah. Q is one entity of less than 10 people. That's all we know. And anons, there's millions of us. There are thousands and thousands of us. And it's not just in America. You've got people overseas in Germany and England and France and Spain. They're all digging with us. There's just so many people.
Damn. Welcome to the boardroom.
Yeah. It was very interesting. I mean, when I started reading it, it was like, whoa, where's all this coming from? Because I tend to...
I got one for you when you're done. I got a question for you.
I tend to lean that way. You say something to me that's a conspiracy theory, and I'm going to go digging on it.
That's what I was going to ask you about. All right, so hopefully you got your shovel for this one. All right, pull out your shovel. What would you say is your craziest conspiracy?
That was the adrenochrome theory. That was the adrenochrome. That blew my mind. I didn't think that there could be so much evil.
Oh, I thought it would be better than that. That was the one?
Well, children. I have a child of my own. I've got grandchildren, and all I could see when I saw that little girl getting her belly cut open was thinking of my grandson.
Jesus Christ, man! You
You
need
know,
to
you
stop
can't.
watching that dark web.
You
I would
well,
have been like, Jesus.
it wasn't on the. Well, maybe it was on the dark web originally. It was brought out by one of the anons, for the anons, not for the public. But it blew me away, and I thought there can't be that
Did he
evil.
get punished for doing that?
No, because we're all anonymous.
Oh, so you never. I get it now.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
why he told us. This was so horrific. Was so hurt. I mean, I can't describe it because I'll start
No, I'll
crying.
take your word for it. I don't need you to describe it. Yeah.
No, nobody wants to see that film. There's another film that I refuse to watch, and
I agree.
it's called Frazzle Drip, and it involves Hillary.
Almost sounds like a cocaine video, but beware.
It involves Hillary and Huma. And I've heard about it. I've had it described to me. Some anons actually went to the dark web and found it. I refuse to look at it. I know what's in it because the other anons that saw it told us what was in it. And I will never view certain movies in a certain way ever again. Because those movies that this was featured in, the icon was featured in, you know those actors are compromised too.
Is the CIA afraid of the Illuminati?
I think the CIA is a branch of it.
Might as well. Can't beat them, join them.
Money talks, bullshit walks, and there are people out there that put money above everything else.
God, what I would pay for that fucking meeting.
Well, we're all going to get it. There's going to be, when this is over.
Really?
Yes. When this is over, there's going to be a documentary. There will be no television programs, no news programs, nothing. They're going to take over the airwaves and they're going to broadcast for 3 days, 8 hours long, and repeat. You'll get 3 of those. You'll get it repeated 3 times through a day. And for 3 days, we're going to be seeing this just to make sure everybody knows what's going to happen. We've got 3 prisons set up for them. Why do you think Trump spent all that money to get Gitmo upgraded? Do you know what he did down at Gitmo? He put in an old folks home and a hospital and enlarged the thing. If you look at pictures.
Is Gitmo a gas station?
No, Gitmo is Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. If you look at a map before Trump was elected and you look at a map of Gitmo, you see this prison and you see the barracks and you see the land it takes up. By the time President Trump leaves office, you pull up a map of Guantanamo Bay Prison and you look at it, and he has tripled the size.
And they call it Gitmo for short.
Yeah, GTMO. It's Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. It's on the southern side of Cuba.
I like it.
There's also Diego Garcia is another prison. And Diego Garcia, I think, is out in the middle of the ocean, the Atlantic. So there's no escape from that.
Make a shitload of money off those prisons.
And there's another prison. Now, understand, you can't put an American citizen on foreign soil in a prison. You have to have them on the U.S. soil. But if they commit treason, they may lose their citizenship.
Interesting.
So then we can put them there. Now, if you look at what's happening in San Salvador, he's close with President Trump. And President Trump, this was something else I wanted to touch on. When President Trump spoke to the president of San Salvador, after he spoke to him, he built this humongous prison. And there are videos out there that show what they're doing with MS-13, just cramming them into this humongous prison, getting them off the streets. They're destroying their graves. They're destroying their places. They're destroying everything that has to do with MS-13. Now, I think that's where a lot of the people that are coming into the states are being flown there. When they brought a plane, they flew a plane into Florida when they started this whole immigration thing, and DeSantis had another plane waiting on the runway for them, and when they deplaned on that plane,
have that plane ready.
He put them back on the other plane and he sent them back to Mexico City.
Right.
And then when all these people started, I mean, these Hochul up in New York, the Massachusetts governor or the Michigan governor, they all want sanctuary cities, but they don't want it to be in their state. They want it to be down here. They want to ruin the South. So they're sending them to Texas, to Florida, to Arizona. Well, Governor DeSantis and the governor over in Texas started putting them on planes and sending them to where sanctuary cities were designated. Now, Mayor Adams said New York is a sanctuary city. So fine, fly them there. We're not a sanctuary state. We're not a sanctuary city. I think Miami declared itself a sanctuary city, but Governor DeSantis said, no.
Dog wants to know isn't Hunter Biden in Gitmo?
No, Hunter Biden's turn. I think, and a lot of us seem to think that Hunter Biden turned state's evidence. I think Hunter Biden turned on his dad. I think they were given deals. I think certain people were approached and said, you do this and it'll go easier for you, because they had so much dirt on Hunter Biden. He's another pedo.
Can you imagine that? They got Hunter in there. It's like, I'll give you my dad.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
and my mom and my dad again.
Just look at the computer thing. He left his computer full of all the information at a computer shop and never went back to pick it up. And he actually signed the paper when he dropped it off.
Dad.
It's not Hunter Biden going after the owner of that store. It's all these people like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. They want that computer. Also, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Imran Awan left her computer in a phone booth down here in Miami in Aventura.
You know,
and she tried to get it back. She even threatened the DC police to get it back.
I respect that you have this kind of information, because there's a lot of people out there, men or women, and I'm one of them, that just don't know anything.
Well, yeah, that's what we were told for, because eventually people are going to start asking questions, and who's going to answer them? We're nothing special. There are literally millions of us. But the information has to be out there in case for when people start asking questions. So you have to have somebody in a group somewhere that can kind of give you a hint on what's going on, or give you a direction to look, or give you some information that would help you. You can't do that if part of the population doesn't have it. All you need is to get 10% of the population to have this information, and you're good to go, because it's going to spread.
The CIA probably shook Hunter down like a fucking
7-year-old. They did. They did.
They're probably like, guy probably was in the room, took off his glasses, was like, you remember JFK? And
well,
then
we know.
Started singing like a bird.
We know from photographs, or I think I know from photographs. I shouldn't say I know, but I think I know. We have photographs of Hunter where he's getting his teeth fixed, where he's getting himself cleaned up. And on one of those photographs, there is a picture of his face with his mouth open, and from all his meth use, his teeth are just totally gone. They're just black and yucky, broken. So he had to get either veneers or a set of dentures. I'm not sure which, but I can't imagine him allowing that kind of picture to go public unless white hats are the ones that took it.
This cannot be confirmed. The only sanctuary is on Cherokee Road, but it doesn't hold many.
What? Louisville is a sanctuary city for Filipinos. Can you confirm? I don't know. I think they're just shipping them wherever they think they can ship them, but they won't ship them to a sanctuary city. They're shipping them to places that are not sanctuary cities. Now, here's another thing that people need. Here's another important thing that people need to know. All those guns and weapons that they said they sent to Ukraine, they didn't get them all. They didn't get them all. They're stockpiling. You
said they didn't get all the guns?
No, they're stockpiling them somewhere.
We're short on guns here. Better get Hunter up.
No, they're stockpiling them somewhere, and
I wonder what that phone call sounds like. Yeah, hello. Yeah, this A1 here. We're short 90 Uzis, 6 rocket launchers,
yeah,
and 19 pistols and maybe 15 grenades.
go to eBay. They're selling them on eBay.
They're selling them on eBay.
Yes, they're
What?
selling them. We've got pictures. I mean, it's so in your face, and yet people are still so blind. And then when you point it out and show it to them, they either don't want to hear because they don't want to know, they want to live in their happy little bubble, or they don't believe it. And there's a whole lot of people out there that just put their fingers in their ears and go, no, 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 that's never going to happen to me. Bullshit. It's happening to us now. Where are those weapons going to go when 75% of the people they're bringing in are military age men? And don't forget, it's not just the southern border. We got a bunch of Chinese at our northern border because Trudeau let them in.
Damn.
Tell me what their plan is. Tell me what you think their plan is. This is not good.
What do you mean they let the Chinese in? Where are they hiding?
The Chinese want this country. They want the resources.
We built this city.
Yeah, they want the resources.
Well, we need
And
America.
they've already propagandized their people about the evil Americans. There's a girl called Naomi Park. She's an escapee from North Korea. I watch her all the time. She's on YouTube. God, she's gorgeous. She's little tiny petite thing, and she's just beautiful.
Are they still looking for her?
No.
Hi, welcome back to Escapee. I'm currently on day 19.
She tells us what life was like in North Korea. This is what they want for us. And the Cubans down in Miami are screaming bloody murder because they've lived under communism and they know what's going on. They can see it. They don't need to be QAnon. They can see it. And for people who have studied history, what they're doing to us now is the same thing Hitler did. They have removed all of our good professors and our good people that teach our students, and they've put people who are not qualified, people who have biases, into those positions. They've bought off the colleges because now they're teaching gender studies. You're not going to get a job with gender studies. Same thing Hitler did. There is Andrei Lobachevsky wrote a book. He was the last member of the White Rose. The White Rose was a group of people in Germany when the Nazis were taking over, that were doing pretty much the same thing QAnon did. But what happened was Hitler got wind of it, and he sent the SS out to hunt them down. And they found
take the White Rose out.
They found every one of them except Andrei Lobachevsky. Now, Andrei Lobachevsky gave the rights to his manuscript to Laura Knight Jadzik, and this is a group I belonged to for almost 10 years.
This was on the Q clipboard?
No. This is before Q. I'm talking about World War II. Andrei Lobachevsky, he's dead now, but when he was in his late 80s, he gifted his manuscript to Laura Knight Jadzik, and she published it on Cassiopeia.com.
I want you to have this.
And he explained exactly how this is going to go. Now, everything they're doing now, it's like it's following a script.
Yeah.
Ricky, I'm going to find the link to that.
3, 4, and 5 for me.
Sorry?
No, you said it's like a script, and I was saying they're telling the actors.
I'm gonna try and find it so I can put it in the chat for anybody that wants to read it. I'll get the link. It's very important reading.
I have no idea what the hell Boss Man's talking about. That's some weird shit.
What's Boss Man say?
Nothing about the nah or nothing, none of that. He's talking about Jeep tires.
Oh.
I don't know where that came
It's called...
We're talking about the non up here, and he's talking about goddamn Jeep tires.
Okay, Laura published the book. She went and published it. Here we go. It's called Political Ponerology, a science on the nature of evil adjusted
Russian
for political
Kigakami
purpose.
says howdy.
I'm going to put a link to the book in the chat. Let's see, how much is it? $30. There's also a free link on her page. I'll find that and put it in the chat as well. That's the book at Amazon. Did it go? Well, darn it. Go. It's not going. The link is too big.
Welcome to hell.
You know, ever since YouTube updated their stuff, you can't post large links in there.
It's not the same anymore.
I'm going to make sure this works. Hold on. Yep, it works.
Whoa.
The link works. That's the book. Now I'm going to find the link. If it's still on her site, it's free to read.
They were trying to get your stream taken down, Pesci, the Russian name. How do you know? We didn't really do anything wrong.
Okay, let me find her search. Now, I belonged to this group for approximately 10 years, and we learned a lot. And what's really weird is all the stuff that I learned in her group came up in bits and pieces when Q was talking, which was really a mind blower. Yeah, she's published it as a book, but I'll give you the link. And I would highly advise anybody that can to read this, because he lays it out how Hitler did it. And when you look at what Hitler did, you see our deep state doing the same thing to our country. So the book, there's a link to the book, and there's a link to the link to the book. But you can gather some information off of her site.
Interesting.
Yeah, Bill, we're spreading propaganda.
What's propaganda again?
No, Bill said Pesci is committing.
No, what's the word mean?
Acts.
What's the word propaganda mean?
To spread false information, disinformation.
Oh.
Everything we've heard on the news is commentary. It's not real news anymore. I remember real news. I remember two newsmen, Huntley and Brinkley, sitting at the desk, smoking their cigarettes, giving us a half-hour evening
I would
news.
say I'm spreading anything, Bill. I'm just talking to her about the na-na and shit.
About the information I found. And what's really weird is...
And they got their shit from a clipboard. Not like my clipboard.
Yeah. No, we got our information directly from the horse's mouth. Now, there's another person that you can watch. I'll put his name in the chat.
Was the horse's name Mr. Ed?
His name is Kash Patel.
Damn, that's a fucking great name for a horse.
No,
sounds like a name for like a store. He used to belong
to the Department of Defense, and he's in the White Hat group, and he keeps people informed about what's going on. And anytime you see him on Benny Johnson, or he does have his own link on X where he puts links to shows that he's on, I would highly suggest anybody listen to him because he's in the know. Dan Scavino is another one. Dan Scavino is Trump's right-hand man.
Surprise.
So these guys are good people to listen to if you really want to know what's going on.
These are YouTubers?
No, just look him up, Google him. Just look him up on the web, Dan Scavino and Kash Patel, and they're both on X and they're both on Telegram.
Benny Johnson is good, says Denise.
Yeah, Benny Johnson has Kash on every time he has something interesting to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad.
And Benny Johnson is here on YouTube. He's a Florida boy.
Oh, you never said what your favorite conspiracy theory was.
My favorite conspiracy theory, or the thing that I just gravitate to? Because the thing I gravitated to was saving children. But favorite...
No, not that one. Other than that one.
I would have to say John F. Kennedy Jr. I'd like to think he's still with us. I don't know for sure. I've seen some pictures. I sent a picture to my girlfriend one time. It was taken from above, and it was a giant Q. And there was a bunch of people standing making this Q formation. Mm-hmm. And if you zoomed in,
everybody line up.
If you zoomed in to the man in front with the gray hair, he's the only one there that's not in a military uniform, and you zoom in really close, he sure looks like JFK Jr. Some people say he is, some people say he's not. I don't know for sure, but I'd like to think that's him. I mean, it looks like him.
Wait a minute. The one that was in the plane?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's my favorite conspiracy. I'd like to think he's alive.
There's no wrong with that.
Yes, BC, I watched Tim Pool. For a long time, Tim Pool was on the fence. And we all kept waiting for him to get off to see what side he got off on. He got off on our side, and he does very good work.
Well, before we end tonight, is there any last hoorahs you want to get out there?
Yeah, all this stuff
we were able to go 2 hours and 45 minutes. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I can go all night.
That's what she said.
This is all, yeah, right. It's all connected. It's all connected. Everything is connected, and biblically, because for those of you out there who read the Bible, if you go to Revelations and you go to Daniel and you, what's the other one? Just go to Revelations and read through it. Just take it one verse at a time. And as you read that section, think about what's happening today that matches that. And you're going to see it all line up. It's all going to line up. What is Jake Hudson?
Well, you know what that sound means. Mud Rabbit, I appreciate you coming on. We're going to have you on again.
Sure. Well, thanks, Bill. Thanks, Pesci. I had fun. This is great.
Yeah.
Is there any questions before I go?
Any questions for the rabbit? Great show, says Denise.
Can I do a cheap plug?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
I said, if you had anything left to say, go ahead.
I have a very good friend on here.
I got 6 minutes to burn.
I have a very good friend on YouTube. His channel name is Brother Zoe. Z-O. 2 words, Brother Zoe. And he has some really interesting shows on YouTube. But his best show is on Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern to 6 p.m. Eastern. Rock and roll, like it was from the 70s. And it's on DLive and pilled.net. And it's a lot of fun. And he's a good friend of mine. And I suggest his show everywhere I go, along with Truth Quest with Aaron Moriarty over on Rumble. Those 2 shows, these are 2 of my very good friends, and I always plug them.
Yes, this Obama. I'm down here in the basement. Joe's running around naked again upstairs.
Yeah, he pooped on the carpet. Well, Pesci, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, crew. It's been fun.
And if you are watching the stream, I will be going live on OBS. So I'll be ending this stream, but then restarting. But yeah, Mud Rabbit, thanks for coming on. Boss Man says, thanks, Brad. We love you. I'd like to say special thanks to Pakistan, Patty, Tina from Tahiti, Timmy from Tibet, Tokyo Tony, the Scolari brothers, Herb Syphilis 10, Jim Crick, and the Mud Rabbit.
Thank you
for coming on.
You guys are awesome.
And I will see you guys next time.
Sure. If you want to do it again, let me know.
All right. Well, no, hold on. Stay on for 1 second. I'll talk to you after I end the stream real quick.
Sure.
Hello, fans. I will, I'll be going live over on OBS. So I'll see you guys soon.